Good morning. The meeting of the Southern University Board of Supervisors is called to order. Mr. Vice Chair.
We'd like to bring forward Minister William Andrew Bates, a native of Chicago, Illinois, and now a resident of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Minister Bates, not only a friend, has been married to the former Maria Ward for 25 years. They have a son and a daughter to this union. Minister Bates is a product of the Chicago public school systems. He holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in political science from the Southern University. He was called by God to preach the gospel in 1998, and he was licensed in 2000 by Bishop Raymond W. Johnson of Living Faith Christian Center in Baton Rouge, where he is the executive pastor. Minister Bates believes that no matter what your situation is, God's words can change it, bring healing to it, and turn your situation around, because the best is yet to come. Brother Bates, good morning.
Your name praise, honor, and glory. For this is the day that you have made, and Lord, we rejoice and we're glad therein. Lord, we come here this morning to ask your blessing over this meeting, over the Southern University systems, over our new president, God. Lord, we thank you for giving this body of board members the guidance and the knowledge and the know-how of what they need, the structure and the strategies and the plan and the ideas to govern the Southern University system. Now, Lord, we thank you for your favor being upon them, God. We thank you for resources that will come in, Father God, that will be to their benefit. We thank you for newfound relationships and alliances that will align themselves to help bring to pass the vision for the Southern University system, God, that it will be well for the system and for the students and for the community. Now, God, we thank you for your favor resting upon this great university and this great people, because you have called Southern University for such a time as this to be a beacon of light and a beacon of hope for all that are lost, God. And so, Lord, we thank you that you continue to rain down your favor. You will continue to rain down your blessing upon this board and upon this body. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Mike, could everyone stand, please, with pledge of allegiance?
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vice Chair has joined, he's a new student since he's doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we go into our academic affairs, I would like to welcome the new president of Louisiana Public Broadcasting, Mr. Clarence Copeland, who is a Southern grad. Mr. Copeland, would you stand and be recognized? Congratulations, Mr. Copeland. Mr. Gillum, Academic Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Academic Affairs Committee is hereby called to order. Mr. President, would you please give us a roll call?
My pleasure. Mr. Sam Gilliam.
Present.
Dr. Leon Tarver. Mr. Myron Lawson. Mrs. Christy Reeves. Mrs. Ann Smith. Dr. Orlando Williams. Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of today's agenda. What is the committee's pleasure? It's been moved by Dr. Williams and second, do I have a second on that one? Second by Ms. Foster, that the agenda would be adopted as printed before us. The next item, of course, is public comments. Would there be any individuals here in the audience who would like to come forth and make comments relative to any item that's on the Academic Affairs Committee? Staff, there be any digital requests that have been submitted to us? Seeing none, we'll move on down to number 6. And before we open this up for actual items, all of these items, both of these items, they appear to be somewhat minimal, but they're rather ominous, if you would, please, because they speak to the academic integrity of the institution, especially item 6B. But let's look, if you will, at section, I believe it's item number 6A. And this comes to us from the Baton Rouge campus. Dr. Sahu, are you in a position to give us comments regarding this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Chairman of the Academic Affairs Committee. We went through a program prioritization process, and then using the university's review processes and the recommendations of the College of Sciences and Engineering, more specifically the faculty and the dean, it was determined that the interest in engineering technology has shifted. The students who are coming with such qualifications and interest, they're more interested in computer engineering. So while we are recommending to you to discontinue engineering technology, where simultaneously you will get next month a proposal which we included to the Board of Regents to put in place a computer engineering bachelor's degree.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sahu.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to acknowledge that Mrs. Ann Smith is present
Is
for this
present.
meeting.
And computer, pleasure to have you with us, Ms. Smith. Indeed. Thank you. There are some questions I think that
Yes.
have been rendered.
Yes.
Regarding this particular item. For instance, the first one that always comes to mind is, what will this termination, what kind of impact rather, would this have on the students who are currently enrolled, Dr. Sahu?
First of all, I think every student that is enrolled, there is a plan that they will graduate and graduate on time. So just that we will not admit new students, and then the new students will come, we'll be admitting them more into the computer engineering program than the engineering technology. The engineering technology program seems to have shifted more towards community colleges.
All right, but the current majors there, we will be able as a university to honor the contract, the catalog
Yes,
contract
yes.
that we have with
I
them.
think that is there in the plan. So, you know, what we are doing, they will not be inconvenienced.
And this has been articulated to the students.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
I believe as of this last May, we only had 2 students in
Two
this program.
students. Because we have been using the program prioritization process for the last 2 to 3 years in the university. The process is long, and so people get to know that this is what is happening.
Okay. Any other comments from the committee regarding this particular item? Please, sir.
My comments are directed to Dr. Sahu.
Yes, sir.
What are the implications for the withdrawal of this program on our accreditation standing for the College of Engineering?
It'll have no impact on the ABET accreditation.
Any other questions or requests for clarification? If not, then, ladies and gentlemen of the Academic Affairs Committee, what is your pleasure for item number 6A?
So moved.
Been moved by Dr. Tarver and second by Dr. Williams, that action item 6A will be approved. Those in favor, please let it know by sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. This item is thus adopted. Moving on to item number 6B. which is a little more in-depth, if you will, ladies and gentlemen. This deals with the 3-year academic plan, which is somewhat of a new process. The first observation that I think we need to make as the Academic Affairs Committee of the Academic Affairs Committee is this. These plans have to be submitted to the Board of Regents. Okay. I think there should be some consideration possibly for bringing this before the board for its consideration more than 1 month before going to the Board of Regents for approval. If there would be consideration for that, I think it just makes business sense. Because the idea is that we have to make sure that these plans are in sync or in line with our strategic plan and also in line with the Board of Regents master plan. It's a little hard to look at that in this couple of hours of meeting and make sure that we touched all those bases. Okay, so if you give consideration to that, I got a question. Mr. Lawson.
Yes. My concern too is I don't get enough of the why they are low completers. What was the trend? Is that the trend of other institutions as well? I saw some hints as to why, but is the program dated? And I guess my concern is that were we the problem? Is it that the curriculum, as I said, became dated?
Mr. Lawson, before pitching, if you would allow me, would you mind if we delve into that in depth, the question that he has raised?
Right.
And we're starting with SUBR, of course.
Right.
It's the first in your packet. But indeed, there's going to be this concern for, as he indicated, Dr. Sahu, and I believe Dr. Ammons too, in your role, as to why they've been designated as such, why have they arisen, as Mr. Lawson has said, because as I appreciate it, this works 2 ways. Low completers are scrutinized very carefully by the Board of Regents. And we have an obligation, we can be proactive to actually make a recommendation to give it up. And if we don't do that, of course, the Board of Regents can take it upon themselves to terminate it themselves. But following up, let's start with the Baton Rouge campus, following up
Yes, sir.
to Mr. Lawson.
It's just that the marketplace has changed. The student interest has changed. They want a degree in computer engineering. They don't want to be technicians when they're coming to our university. And so what it needs is that while we are discontinuing this program, we have to be more intentional in terms of recruiting for the computer engineering program and show that this is where the shift has taken place. But there is also another part, so is that the resources. When you have such small programs and low completers, they're using disproportionate amount of resources of the university. And if they are shifted to, anytime we want to start a new program, that means we'll have to, find resources for them. And so with limited resources or fixed resources, this reallocation needs to be taken where we are taking a hard look at the programs that are not viable because student interest is not there. The marketplace has shifted, and then pay attention to where the opportunities are consistent with our mission, consistent with the master plan, and also the demands of our students.
So
May
you're
I ask you, I'm sorry.
no, I'll yield to you.
No, and I'll yield
So
back
you're
to you.
suggesting that there's no marketplace for engineering, electronics, engineering technology?
What I was, there is a process at universities. We used a peer review process where it is reviewed at the department level, reviewed at the college level, and then comes up to the university. And if you remember, the I5 Consulting came here, made a presentation. We went through an extensive review process right before COVID. And so this was one of the programs that we had identified as one where the interest has shifted. And the interest, the way it has shifted is that the technicians are more geared towards going to community colleges. When they come to our campus, they're looking for more engineering degrees, computer engineering degrees. That's the feedback that I got, sir.
You ready? Dr. Williams?
And Mr. Lawson,
Did you finish?
just to add to that, I know a lot of companies, and this is just research we were doing, he's correct. A lot of companies are not hiring the EETs, but more or less we could bring them in on the 2-year, then add stackable credentials to them
Yes.
to enhance the program. And then they're getting more credit for the IBCs and the certifications more so than
Yes.
the degree. And so, and it's because of the big push with broadband and the like in those areas and bringing in all of it, all inclusive. And so I think that the main problem, if you look at LWC's ratings, I think the main problems is coming from our industry partners, not really supporting EETs.
Let me reference, if you would, to, and I know it's ominous for all of us trying to get through these 261 pages of the board packet, but let me reference your attention to page 13, if you will, if you're able to go there with me, those of the committee, the others who are interested in it. This section refers to the low completer review for the Baton Rouge campus. And Dr. Ammons, if you feel free to jump in here at any moment, because I know I've heard some perspectives that you have. And as I look at that, there are some areas there, for instance, that would cause, I know Mrs. Smith has raised concern about our education program. Are you with me, Mrs. Smith? Okay, I know she's raised concern here. I'm looking here, for instance, a low completer. By the way, gentlemen and ladies, understand when we put them in the low completer category, the next step can be, you guessed it, termination, either by our proaction or by the action of the Board of Regents. But taking a look at that, it's somewhat revealing that elementary education and special ed is listed with a 3-year average of only 6 students. Elementary ed is listed as a low completer with only 4 students over the last 3-year average. Middle school education, special education, grades 4 through 8, a little bit better with 6 students over the last 3-year average. And here's one that really gets my goat. I'm sorry. Music teacher education. Want to guess how many? El zero. The point I'm saying is this. I'm reading an article the other day in the local paper here, the Morning African. We've got 270 plus vacancies that need to be filled in the classroom. And I understand why a lot of students are not choosing education as a major. We've heard it before. The pay is not the best in the world. In fact, it's, you would help me out here, Councilor. East Baton Rouge, I know, they have a good teacher salary. But across the state, I know the salaries are low. And in some of these classroom conditions, the conditions of the instructional environment are not admirable. And I can speak to that because I went back into the classroom a few years ago. But there's something amiss here. We had asked for a few months ago a review, I believe, from the education department here. We never heard anything back from that. That the need is there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The demand is there. And I'd just like to know from your perspectives, I'll push to either Dr. Ammons, maybe you all can shed some light.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Academic Affairs Committee and members of the Board of Supervisors, President Shields and colleagues. As Dr. Sahu indicated a few years ago, may have been 2019, we had a consulting group to come in and conduct a program prioritization study. And the group concluded that there were programs at the institution based on not only enrollment, local data, enrollment, applications, but state as well as national demand for programs. And they made recommendations related to programs that we would pursue new programs, programs that we would continue to invest in, and programs that we would possibly terminate. The interesting thing about teacher education was that there's this huge demand, this critical shortage of teachers. Yet here at Southern University and A&M College in particular, because that was the institution they were looking at, we didn't have a match between the enrollment in the teacher education programs and the high demand. One of the reasons for that could be that at one time we had a school of education. The school of education was lowered to a department of education and integrated into the College of Humanities. And so the visibility for one thing, and then, you know, when you have programs with singular focus, like education, engineering, you have the full attention of the dean, the faculty, and the staff in terms of the recruitment. There is no split in terms of the effort. And so the recommendation was to go back to the organizational structure where we would have a school of education here at the university. And in addition to that, to put in place aid, scholarships, grants, etc., to recruit especially top students to education, and especially in some of these areas like science and math education and special education now, that is critical in almost every school district. And so what we have to do as a system is to decide if we are going to approve or have a recommendation to elevate the college and give it more visibility.
Yes, sir. Please.
I've got a question, two separate questions. First, is the degree program electronics engineering something that we're offering at SUSLA? And my second question is, you Dr. Ammons, you gave a wide answer to this, and I for me, the issue is this a recruiting issue, or is this we're not offering the specific degree that you're saying that's needed for teachers coming out now?
Oh, I think we have the degrees.
Okay.
I mean, we have special ed. Right now, when they talk about these 300,000 teachers that we are short of across this nation, when they talk about it, special education comes up in every report that I've seen. We have the programs. We just started to it at SUNO. It is a matter of recruitment,
Okay.
with aid, because again, the salaries compared to some of these other disciplines, business, computer science, engineering, etc., there's no comparison. And so we have to have aid, we have to have student support to bring those students into these majors.
Okay. And the SUSLA question, electronics engineering, is that something we offer?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. In fact, the university was recently approved by the Louisiana Board of Regents to offer the AAS, the Applied Associates of Applied Sciences in Engineering Technology, with 3 concentrations. One is process technology, number 2 is industrial engineering technology, and the third is electrical and computer engineering technology. And we've already started the first cohort for the PTech program, which is actually housed right here on the Baton Rouge campus, started in spring 2022, sir.
And Dr. Sahu, were you trying to expound on that?
Add to your understanding in terms of the College of School of Education. In terms of the engineering technology, one of the opportunities we have that if it is offered at SUSLA, there's no reason why our students here cannot take advantage of it, given the investments we have made in technology, that we can have multiple modes of instruction. And the same thing, the students from Shreveport can also attend our programs here because of the structure that we have and the capacity we have. That's an opportunity for us. It's new, but it needs to be done.
Mr. Chairman, if you would, getting a little bit ahead of us because we plan, I think it would be expedient to look at each one of these by campus. And we kind of we're still here at SUBR, and there's a lot to deal with there for sure. But we're gonna, if you would, because we have the same questions narrowly focused for New Orleans and for Shreveport. Hard question. Okay, yes, sir.
During the presentation, if you would talk a little bit about at what point, at the earliest point when you detect a program is headed to this low completer status, what efforts do you initiate to try to address whatever issues that may have contributed to it? And once we do terminate a program, whether or not any, for lack of a better word, autopsy is done to try to figure out why and learn from that going forward.
I think that's a really good question. For example, from the list that the chairman, Mr. Gilliam, alluded to on page 13, you'll see if we don't self-regulate, if we don't do it ourselves, somebody else is going to do it for us. It's better that we do it. Board of Regents will come and tell us these are your low completer programs, and we have gone through that with the music program. What we do is we alert the department, alert the program. For example, math and physics, they're a low completer. Everybody says we need to keep math, we need to keep physics. But my question is, and that's what I asked. I asked the dean 2 days ago, what are you doing about it? What recruitment strategy? Where is the faculty energy there? And there are some programs that are going that way that is unimaginable that, a university of our reputation would be in that. And so those conversations are taking place much, much before it comes to you. If I'm allowed to, sir, on the just complete your understanding with the School of Education, I cannot imagine a Southern University without a School of Education or without a vibrant education program and music program. So what happened unique to Louisiana, the students, in order to progress from the 200 level to the upper class 300, 400 level, they have to pass the Praxis 1, Praxis 2 if they did not have the 22 or 23 ACT. And so a lot of our students completed the first year, second year, but they did not pass the Praxis. So the attrition was very high. But I think they reviewed it. Now regulatory agency has come, the legislature has come, now does not require the Praxis 1. And I'm told that is going to significantly help our students to progress. They will become teachers when they get their certification. So, but then I think that will help us to provide more access to students, train them, help them, get certified and place them in. That was a unique regulatory constraint in Louisiana.
Thank you. Ms. Foster has been burning for a question, and I believe then Dr. Williamson on that side after that.
So, good morning, you guys. So I have a question. It can be answered by either Dr. Ammons or Dr. Sahu. So you guys kind of mirroring Chairman Shorty and also Attorney Rutledge. How do you track your student outcomes and trends? And is the data that we can review? I heard you talk about the PowerPoints, but I mean, we focused on a lot on the things that you researched and you found, but I haven't seen them. So does that get submitted to the board at an earlier time, or do we get to review the data? And then also the second question is, what do you do once you receive this data and you reviewed it? Is there something that you implement later so that this doesn't happen, or do you just receive your data and you don't review it anymore? Okay.
So all of the programs, academic programs in the universities go through a program review. And it's on a cycle. Some may be 3 years, but I think most are 5 years where we have that review. So during that time, the major focus of that program review are the outcomes, the student outcomes. And we use that information to go in, revise, tweak the curriculum for each program so that the program stays in line with the expectations. These program reviews are headed by external experts. They're not people from internal. We bring in consultants externally to lead those program reviews, and we use that data. In addition to that, some of the programs have accrediting agencies that require the collection, review, and use of that data as well. And then we have our regional accrediting body, the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, that requires us there is an extensive standard on student outcomes. And so we have an annual review of those data. For instance, I can talk about Suno now. We're now using an assessment tool called Nuventive, where all of that data would be captured and used, and it'll be at the fingertips of not only the faculty, but department chairs and deans. So there are various requirements by different processes and organizations that require us to do exactly what you're saying.
Okay, Chairman, can I have a
Please.
follow-up question? So that's amazing. I guess the disconnect that I'm having is if there's the review, then I guess like I want to know like why we know about the program now that it's failing if the review would have happened. Are those two independent?
Great question. No, I mean, they're not independent and they should not be. I can't speak for all of the campuses, and they probably can be more specific with that, but I can tell you about Suno, where I am now. I've been there for 3 years. We have a list of low completer programs, and I can tell you what our plans are. One, and I'm going to start now, we're taking a look at addictive behavior, for instance. Addictive behavior this year has one student that selected this program as the major. We have had years where one student graduated. I think the highest in recent years may have been 10 students who graduated from the program. But for us, instead of us terminating, I am going to withdraw the recommendation to terminate the program. I have been in conversation as late as this morning, even though we had these conversations over 2 years with the dean of the social work program, and we're going to integrate addictive behavior into our School of Social Work. And so we'll combine that with social work and also with psychology to strengthen it and maybe give those students another credential. Maybe it won't be called addictive behavior, but we're going to save it for now, and we're going to work through various disciplines. Area of mathematics, for instance, at Suno is on the low completer list. So if you take a look at our plan, there are 2 programs that are going to help us build capacity in mathematics. One is data science and the other one is actuarial science. Those programs require that we have a strong mathematics program. A few years ago, the university eliminated teacher education programs. If you take a look at our list, we're bringing back elementary education because I think with the knowledge that we have in terms of the demand, but also the knowledge that we have in our faculty, we can build a program that would be attractive. And we have a center like the Honor Race Center that provides support to African-American males, especially to go into teacher education. So those are just, a couple of examples of the kind of examination, looking not only at data, but also looking at the impact on the institution and impact on communities that we serve, where we make decisions around these academic programs. All right, so Mr. Chairman, I want to put that on the board now that we are withdrawing the recommendation to terminate.
We may be able to actually go past that when we get to
Okay.
the Sumo
All right.
campus. Dr. Williams had a question.
Not so much of a question, but just to kind of add on, I think Dr. Ammons might have hit on it. But one of the other problems with the educational programs was the praxis requirements. And it put a strain on these programs. But in the last legislative session, the state recognized that and made some corrective action. So although it's going to be a slow process, I think we're going to see an improvement in some of these programs with the correction that the legislator just made. And am I correct? And I think that's been a strain. So that's not necessarily us or our students. That has been a requirement that makes it more difficult for those in education. And then I'm glad that you just said you're going to be putting addictive behaviors into the social work, because I think more so before we're canceling, program review comes, like you know that your program is going to be reviewed at the beginning of the semester, you know the next semester that your program is going to be reviewed. So I think that we should look at how not necessarily to cancel, but to combine to make sure that it's a stackable and it's an attainable degree that can be held. When I was at SUNO, that was just last year, but when I was in SUNO, one option that was given was, and I think it was under criminal justice at the time, that you can also get a degree or a certification in substance abuse counseling, but it wasn't a standoff. It was a combined opportunity. And so I think that looking at those at that time, it gave people more of an opportunity and more of a want to go into these different programs. So I think before, when you're going through program review, and none of us want to sit through that, but you have to. But when you're going through program review, it should be ways of how we can partner them more so than cancel them, or how we can place them at SUSLA, like Myron was just saying, to give our students an opportunity, because not all students will probably want to go through the whole 4-year process, when we can give them an opportunity to still get an associate's degree.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to put out that the praxis requirements is really would put a hold or cripple the degrees for education. But now we should see some movement in a better way.
Attorney Amity.
I'm hitting it. Is it work? Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Sal, thank you. I just one kind of not simple question, but so like the Department of Engineering, so if we take the person, I'm not trying to pick on that person, whoever's in charge of that department that we're doing away with this program. I mean, am I going to see their name on here next month for a pay raise, or are we going to take that money? No, I don't mean to, please don't, let's just pick another department, any department. Do we have a system, and this was probably something for Dr. Shields, he might know the answer, I don't know, but are we taking the money and putting it, because there are departments that are busy, right? Got too many kids. And so are we kind of moving that around, or are we just leaving, are we wasting a lot of money? Or how many people are in these classes? I mean, I'm just.
That gives me an opportunity to answer. Hopefully, you will hear some questions about us canceling some classes. But what happens is that we do not have the luxury of maintaining the resources in that program when the program is eliminated. So either the faculty has to be qualified to be moved to some where there is a demand. Like one of the faculty members who is qualified and there's great demand in computer science is teaching this time computer science courses, but the computer science faculty has to evaluate and to say, this is the faculty we want. Otherwise, according to the university's processes, when a program is eliminated, that also eliminates the faculty and the people involved, the resources devoted to that. It's not an easy decision, but that's how it is.
That's it. I believe Dr. Tower.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It's really complimentary that we have so many education programs at our various schools. And with all of the problems that we're having with praxis, do we have any sort of praxis review programs to help these students?
Yes.
And even with that, they're still not able to to successfully pass the praxis. So how do you evaluate that?
Honestly, it also really perplexes me for the amount of resources and amount of opportunities we give and why we are not able to, have, what we do is we pay for them to take the praxis for practice and multiple times. Then we also have tutorial, which is in person. We pay faculty members in the summer and during release time for them to provide praxis guidance. And we also have software from Kaplan and other providers for this praxis, to pass. So now that they don't require praxis as a way to progress to the 300, 400 level, I think we will see more progression. It's the same way that, if you go through law school, you will complete the requirements. If you go through accounting, you will complete the requirements and then take the CPA or take the bar. Except in education, they said that you have to pass praxis before you go to the 300, 400 level. And we had a lot of difficulty. Maybe our students are not good at taking standardized exams. So they're doing well on the courses in the first year, second year. They just don't pass the praxis exam.
My follow-up question has to do with the recruitment of students for our programs and the availability of resources to assist in that.
Yes. In fact, I'm so glad you're asking. We anticipated this, like answering the question, is that my thing is, and getting guidance from our president also is saying, what is the faculty doing about getting more students? We can complain all we can complain. And one of the things I realized about the School of Education, you have to have education clubs that you are partnering with or you are becoming an advisor to at the high school level. Scotlandville Magnet School or EBR schools. We need to have, sponsor some of these, and they are best done by people who have the expertise in the College School of Education.
Where I was going with that, however, was trying to recruit the highest caliber of student into a program and therefore raising our chances of getting better performance. And I realized that the low income areas of salaries for teachers is not that attractive on one hand. On the other hand, we have to have greater incentives. So what kind of a scholarship program do we have on our various campuses for recruiting? What sort of, benefits do we derive or make it accessible?
Yes, I had a conversation with the leadership and also with the faculty in the School of Education. I've had multiple, but the one that recurring theme is that we need to more dedicated scholarships. What happens is we recruit students, but they are recruited away from us because other universities provide them a package that is not, we can't argue against that. We are not competitive. So in your wisdom, if you could help us isolate or find us the resources that will be dedicated to providing scholarships. And the president is very sensitive to this and is saying that go recruit the students, we'll find the money. And I think that can be done.
Lastly, a recommendation needs to come to the president and to this board, an attractive package being put together. So when we start talking about scholarships, the kind of money that you need for that, we need to know what's the competition. And unless somebody can tell us what that is, because we need to put a high emphasis for this school to be able to lose programs where we're no longer producing educators for our schools is a catastrophe. I mean, this is why this school was born. So we need to do more. And not only in terms of scholarships, but other sorts of amenities such as computers and others to attract them here.
Yes, so I'm making note of it. I also heard about the subsequent report about the School of Education, which is due to you. I will, consult, I will go to our president and get his, instructions and put it together in terms of what resources could be isolated for giving specific scholarships for this area of need and area of focus for you.
Thank you very much. And thank you too for the insight of all the board members who chided in here to give their perspectives. We have other units in this area. The next one coming up in the order prepared by your board packet falls up on page 15, if indeed you are following us. that deals with the law center. The law center does not present any unique problems. It is not terminating any programs. It has no low completer programs. So we'll offer the option to the illustrious Chancellor, Pierre over there, unless he's a glutton for pain, as to how he wants to approach this, and what observation he wants to make.
Thank you, sir. So obviously, law schools and the law center is in a different position than the other constituent institutions in the system. Law schools went through a very painful period for about 10 years, where as a general rule, they were losing enrollments. Actually, law schools were closing. There were law schools that were closing, put out of business. We were very fortunate at the Southern University Law Center, even during the Jindal administration slash and burn process of funding, that we were able to figure out a way to keep our enrollment at a good level and also increase self-generated revenues while not having to expand programs. In today's environment, because the Law Center now is accredited by both SAC, COC, independent of the Baton Rouge campus, and the American Bar Association, we now have to look forward to creating additional programs that go beyond the traditional JD program, because the status of the legal profession and the legal industry is changing. So that is why you see, and with respect to us, we want to look at alternative degree programs like a Bachelor's of Science in Legal Studies and a Master's of Science in Legal Studies, because some law schools are quadrupling their revenue by offering these various programs to individuals who need legal skills to do their jobs, like in human resources, like in cybersecurity, for example, in some of these areas. So that is why we want to, you may recall that we presented approval from the board to conduct feasibility studies to do that. And the place I'd like to do that would be for the Shreveport off-campus instructional site that hopefully we can be successful in creating it into a branch campus, because now we're talking about creating economic development. The law schools have never been thought of as places where economic development is created. But the truth of the matter is, when our graduates leave the law school, they go create economies. They start law offices. They hire 8 to 10 or 12 people in small practices. And in some communities, they become the largest single private employer in that community. So we have to rethink and reimagine what we're doing in legal education to be competitive. So that is really the strategy here. We can't wait, because the reality is the state of Louisiana is getting out of funding higher education. In the state of Arizona, where I've been looking at their programs, the state does not fund the law schools. This is all University of Arizona Law School, Arizona State. I've been talking with their leadership about their various programs where they're just making tons and tons of money, but they're also providing a great service to individuals who don't necessarily want to go through the rigors of a 3 or 4 year program in law school, but need to be sure that they understand what legal issues are in relation to their profession. Another area that's growing is called legal operations. So in corporations, they are actually abandoning the idea that they're going to spend all of this money on outside counsel, and they're bringing together teams to solve their problems internally. And so they're bringing engineers, computer science, lawyers, people with business backgrounds to solve problems within legal ops, and particularly in terms of contract negotiations and creating new licenses, and intellectual property protection. That's a whole new world. And we're pushing our law students into that world, and we've been very successful. In fact, an example of it is Miss Foster. Miss Foster got to do an internship this summer with a company she probably never heard about, and nobody here would know about, but they paid her pretty well to work from a computer to solve very significant problems that she had the skill set to do. So now we got to create that whole ecosystem. And in Shreveport, I believe if we create that pipeline, we not only feed our potential JD program, but we create a whole economy where people can go out and do things differently. And that all comes from the law school, a place they would never have expected it.
Thank you very much. Any questions or points of clarification? Mr. Lawson?
And it's tied to what Dr. Fahu said, which is maybe it's more appropriate to have that curriculum in a 2-year institution. What you're talking about, there may be some room for our 2-year institution in Freeport to address some of those issues. And I'm just wondering, are we working with, again, the 2-year program to put a 2-year program in legal studies and, as we say, a more appropriate degree in electronic engineering?
Well, that is exactly the point. The point is, for example, and again, we haven't had the specific conversation, but we've had it, Dr. Penning and I, because we are basically going to be sharing a space called the Shreveport Memorial Library. They had a meeting just a week and a half ago about sharing that space, because here's what you have, at least from what I can tell. You have a desire by the Caddo Parish Library to have a new building somewhere in a different place of downtown or roof of a downtown, but you got a historic building there that is huge and can serve a lot of roles right in downtown Shreveport. So we're occupying the 3rd and 4th floor. There have been discussions, Mr. Frank Williams, who's now the interim chief of staff, and the foundation about bringing some other things into that 1st and 2nd floor. And we could collaboratively share space to do a lot of different things. And the reason why the Shreveport campus is a perfect place, because they can draw in students. We may in the end say Shreveport wants to have a paralegal program, and that may be where they want to go to. But the idea is that we can get something where folks can actually get a bachelor's degree and never leave Shreveport in a different area. It's the perfect example of that particular marriage.
And lastly, we still do not complete the circle if we don't bring in conversation to our online program. That's all I want to say.
You're exactly right. And again, these particular programs are programs that are more feasible with online features. In other words, so we're looking at that because obviously the pandemic forced us as law schools to look at our ability. Even today, we have essentially a hybrid form. We have students that are going in person, but we offer some options where our students can take classes virtually, because literally we still have students that are living outside of the state of Louisiana that are completing law school. So all of those things coming together, we have to use the best resources available to make that possible.
Thank you.
Mr. Lawson, did I answer that?
Yes.
Thank you, Chancellor Pierre. Indeed. The next item, I believe, in that packet, we move on to SUNO. Now, some of our questions have already been answered in the discussion prior with SUBR. But for your reference, if you're trying to keep up with us, their report starts on page 23, I believe. And if you want to look at their low completed sector, that can be found in the packet on page 31. I will pitch, if you would, Dr. Ammons, to tell us what we might need to know about the SUNO situation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This exercise gave us an opportunity to engage with our faculty, but also with our external constituencies. And if you take a look at the list of new degree programs that are being proposed by SUNO, you will see that they are laser focused on issues that are impacting not only the New Orleans community, but this nation. So you see emerging technologies such as cybersecurity. We have a relationship with the FBI, Homeland Security, IBM. Ms. Kennedy came here and made the presentation on IBM. One of the big areas that they are looking at is to build a workforce through HBCUs in cybersecurity. This will be the first cybersecurity program for the Southern University system at Southern University at New Orleans. And then, of course, data science is just growing in terms of demand. Cardiopulmonary science. If the pandemic showed us anything, there is not only a need for more nurses, there is also a need for those in the area of cardiopulmonary science. And then elementary education, as I mentioned, we're bringing that program back. And as we go into the second year, Mr. Bartholomew, our first priority is going to be music. You can't be in New Orleans without a music program, all right? So we're going to bring music in our second year. Public health, again, remnants of the pandemic, growing the workforce in public health. The doctorate of social work is long overdue. Our signature program at SUNO is social work. We have a thriving undergraduate program, a thriving master's program, and now we'll pursue the doctorate of social work. And then we're going to create some principles. Ms. Smith, we're going to do education administration, a master's in that area. And, you know, we're sitting in Cancer Alley, all of those chemical plants along the route from here down to New Orleans. The university, for whatever reason, terminated chemistry some years ago. And so now we're going to bring chemistry back. And so I believe that if you take a look at this lineup, you will see that this university is poised to become a bigger player in producing people with the credentials that are needed here in the 21st century. And then I want to say one other thing to Ms. Foster. One thing that I left out when you asked me the question about what we do about these low completers. One of our low completers is public administration. We're taking it online. And so we're going to see if we can build the enrollment by taking it to online. And then the last thing that I'll say is that even though the praxis has been eliminated for entry into teacher ed, when the candidates finish the program, they still have to take the subject area part of the praxis, all right? And so we have an opportunity to prepare them to do that successfully.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ammons.
Mr.
And I
Chairman,
believe, I'm sorry, sir.
point of privilege, if you don't mind.
Please, you have.
I would like to congratulate Dr. Ammons on revitalizing the interest, not only in the music program, but the overall aspects of the future at SUNO in New Orleans. Because it means a lot to the community and a lot of business that's coming in, which is going to be a big asset to getting our youngsters into the world that's existing, the technology and everything else that's going to be exposed. And thank you very much for your effort of revitalizing that we are a true HBCU in New Orleans, and we're trying to make a profound difference in the future of the people of New Orleans.
To say to our faculty and our team, they have come together, they listen to our partners, and we have this, what I call a great lineup of new programs for the university. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Bartholomew, for that insight. Dr. Ammons, thank you very much. Any questions regarding anything in this part of the report? I believe you indicated, Dr. Ammons, that you have made an adjustment to the addictive behavior program. It has now been subsumed into the social sciences program.
School of Social Work.
School of Social Work. Mrs. Smith, if you would, you had some concerns here. Were those adequately addressed for you, ma'am?
Oh, yes, they have been addressed. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on, if you would, to SUSLA. And again, if you are following us this is the last of the programs we'll look at. If you're following us, you can reference this as page number 35 in your board packet. I'll pitch to you, Dr. Penny, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll begin my response with really framing it from a macro level. One of the charges that President Dennis Shields in all the meetings with us began with challenging us to identify 3 to 4 goals that really can be tracked, can be monitored, something that we can have those monthly conversations and demonstrate progress. And for us, we picked the 4 goals, and no surprise for those of us who have had the multiple meetings with President Shields, improving student outcomes as goal number 1. And that's our challenge that we presented to our priority for 22-23. The second one that speaks to this conversation is strengthening our academic inventory and building our research capacity. And I'll come to this in a second. Goal number 3 for SUSLA is stabilizing our fiscal health, something that was very near and dear when I walked in. We were certainly out of balance when it came to our operating budget, and using one-time dollars, we're reversing that trend, as well as strengthening our campus infrastructure. And goal number 4, again, for those, again, who've met with President Chancellor Shields, is building stronger connections with our stakeholders, that is stakeholder engagement, and being what we call stewards of place. Taking that specific goal number 2, strengthening our academic inventory. We've been very, very surgical and very intentional in the manner in which we've strengthened our academic inventory. A lot of conversations you heard on STEM. Let me share with you what SUSLA has recently gotten approved by the Board of Regents in the STEM fields. Number 1, a certificate program in cybersecurity. That has been approved. Number 2, certificate program in airframe technology. A certificate program in engineering, President Chancellor Shields. A certificate program in petroleum technology. A certificate program in power plant maintenance technology. And of course, the one that was mentioned earlier, an associate's in applied science in engineering technology with concentrations in process technology, industrial technology, and electrical and computer engineering technology. What am I saying? SUSLA has been intentional in positioning Northwest Louisiana, meeting the economic development needs of our region and the workforce needs. These have been approved. Let me share with you where this is going for us. We view the Southern University system as an organism, as an entity that we don't believe we've really maximized the strength and power of the system. For every one of these programs, we're looking at pathways to do 2+2s. So our students know not only can they have those stackable credentials where they can exit into the workforce, but they can go through the pathway of a 2+2 into either SUNO or Southern University in Baton Rouge. That became the mantra under which the 3-year plan and the programs that we put together were introduced. Consider the first one, an associate's degree in construction technology. I have heard from this board the need, and the need is in Northwest Louisiana for construction technology programs. Why did we select this? Because we know the Baton Rouge campus. In fact, in my conversations with not only Dr. South, but Ms. Simone Whitmore, who's been hired by the university, is in the process of putting together a baccalaureate program in construction technology. What an idea for us to link up to that program in a 2+2. Program number 2, an associate's degree in data science. You heard Dr. Emmons just talk about a baccalaureate program in data science. We wish to link up to his program, so there's a pathway for our students, not only to his baccalaureate program at SUNO, but also into the computer science program right here on the Baton Rouge campus. The third one, biotechnology. With everything that's being discussed today, biotechnology is at the forefront. And again, SUSLA is positioned to allow our students to not only to matriculate in that program, but to find a pathway to SUNO and to Baton Rouge. And of course, entrepreneurship. Need we say more? We need to make sure we train more Black businesses in our communities, where individuals, for example, who go through a culinary program know not only how to cook the food, but also know the business aspect of setting up a private business. Yesterday, we enjoyed a tremendous reception by my dear colleague, Chancellor Orlando McMeans. He said something that was very pivotal, and that laid the position of why we introduced this next program. With the agriculture, what is going on right now, there's a food shortage, a food crisis in this nation. He extended the opportunity for the land grant mission that is right now in this region to be extended to North Louisiana. Well, how do we extend the land grant mission? We do it through the tripartite mission of the Ag Center, teaching, research, and extension. Well, at Southern University at Shreveport, we have no ag-related programs. So we've put in place an associate's degree in natural resource management and urban forestry as a pathway to bring the land grant mission to Northwest Louisiana, just like Chancellor Pierre is bringing legal education to Northwest Louisiana. But it also gives a chance for all those wonderful scholarship dollars that Chancellor McMeans is able to secure for those who are majoring in agriculture. Perhaps some of those dollars can make their way to Shreveport and to our students, and then they can pathway not only to the baccalaureate program, but to the master's program and even to the PhD program right here in Southern University in Baton Rouge. Hospitality management. Work very closely with Dr. Renita Marshall. She's spoken about putting together a hospitality program. Well, for those of you who know Shreveport, we have a lot of casinos in Shreveport. The hospitality industry is vibrant. We want to make sure that we introduce this culinary program and a hospitality program for students, not only to exit into that region's workforce, but also to transfer to the Baton Rouge campus. The selection of these programs has been very intentional. The question was raised, how do we ensure that we have a sustained number of students in the programs? And for us in Shreveport, again, we are very intentional in responding to that question. SUSLA, we believe in advisory boards. And right now we are strengthening our advisory boards on the campuses. One may pose, what are advisory boards? And what does it have to do with this conversation? We know that our educational institutions sometimes can be closed systems, i.e. we look at our own curricula outside of bringing in a consultant. Well, what a novel idea by having business and industry leaders wrap around every one of our academic programs, and they can provide what we see 4 tremendous value propositions, taking a hard look at our curricula. Why not somebody who works in the field, given the faculty and the staff input as to what the market demands are and how we can strengthen that curricula? They can provide resources like scholarships and help recruit students because they are vested in those particular programs. Internship opportunities. One of our obligations is not just recruiting students, it is the progression of our students, the graduation of our students, but also the placement of our students. And these advisory boards are well positioned to provide those services. And of course, other equipment needs like resources. So one of our strategies is the use of advisory boards, not only with the recruitment aspect of the program, but sustaining the program and placement of our students. The other is something we did on the Baton Rouge campus long ago when I was a student, engaging our faculty in the recruitment efforts. Who can best sell a program than the faculty of the program? President Chancellor Shields says we ought to be stewards of place. We are all vested in our own success. So one of the pieces that I've charged Interim Vice Chancellor Michael Taylor, once we get past the registration period, is for the next few months during this fall semester, putting together a comprehensive enrollment management plan that President Chancellor focuses on 3 things: recruitment, retention, and graduation, with the full engagement of our faculty in that effort, and not just leaving it to the recruiters of the institution. And Mr. Chairman, I yield at this point.
Thank you very much, Dr. Penny. If you are, again, following us on this, we started out at page 38, hearing no one offer up. Focus attention rather quickly before we go on to close this committee out, because we spent a lot of time here. If you would look at, I believe it's page 38 through 34, you get an itemization of the low completed courses here. And I'll try to be as concise if I can with this, if you will. Mr. Chairman, we were looking here, they are actually have low completed programs. As I said, that's usually a precursor to thinking of termination. If you would, Dr. Penny, the message I would like to give to the people, let's say your faculty, who is dealing with those in the dental hygiene area, only 6, the health information, I think we used to call it medical records technology.
Yes, sir.
Now, all of these areas I'm talking about are high demand areas. There should not be a real problem in getting students into them. Let's see, I'll go on. Respiratory therapy, 6 students. Surgical technology. This used to be a biggie for us in Shreveport. And here's one that's near and dear to anybody's heart that's been to a general practice or to a lab in the last year or so. Medical laboratory technology. Am I right, Doc? Shreveport is a medical center. You can get almost any kind of attention there. It kind of amazes me that we only have 3 students in that. Whenever I go to my my general practice, I'll always ask when they go to pump the blood. I'm already nervous. I'll say, okay, where did you go to school? Inevitably, they will say, Susla. And the little one assisting them, I said, well, hey, I know you got good training, so do it to me. I'll always tell them, you're going to leave any? They usually like to take as much as they can. The point I'm saying is this, and I was hoping Ms. Christy Reeves would be here today. Stress this as we close this committee out. Arshner, to show you the impetus of medical providers in the area of Shreveport, Arshner's is developing the area from the medical school, if you know where that is on Kings Highway, all the way to I-49. That's about a 3-block area. I guess I want to send a message back, if you would, take this message to the people in those areas that I just mentioned.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Penny, I could do this in a very erudite way, but please insist to those individuals that they need to get off their Sandusky's and go out and recruit some students for these areas because they're high area. They pay good money. Give me an amen or some over there, Doc. Most of these started 40 or 50,000 a year, I believe. Okay, good paying job. And it baffles me. We work so hard to get them. I believe Jerome Green, Dr. Jerome Green was there. He was big in the allied health field. It kind of pains me to see them wither away like this. So the message I'm sending very strongly, I hope they're watching somewhere. They need to get on the ball, go out and find these students. Surgical technology used to be one of the bigger. I'll leave it. We've had enough preaching here today. Any other questions, comments? Director, we have one from, well, we're going down. I think you wanted to do that under other business, teacher. We still have not approved this item. We have action item number 6B. You probably forgot where we were. What is your pleasure?
Come on.
Been moved by Dr. Williams and seconded by, I believe, Mr. Lawson. Okay, that item, action item 6B would be approved. Those in favor, please let it be known by sign of aye. Opposed, nay.
Doing that minus the changes recommended by Dr. Ammons.
By all means, make that correction, if you will, Madam. Okay, those in favor with the corrections, please let it be known by sign of aye. Opposed, it's a nay. Hearing none, this item is approved with the exception mentioned for Suno. We move on down, if you would, finally, to other business. Ms. Nadia Foster has indicated she wishes to say something regarding other business.
I know that Chairman Shorty wants me to keep it short, so my only other questions are with the faculty committee. But so I just have some questions about enrollment and faculty, so I'll be quick. So my first question is, enrollment has increased, and this can be answered by any chancellor or any board member, by the way, because I just need some support. I just need to know. It says enrollment has increased at an amazing capacity, but we unfortunately have not kept up with the rate of increase. Do we intend to downsize, or are we committed to pledging financial support to better accommodate our students? And what does that look like? And so basically what I'm asking is, can our budget sustain the increased enrollment? Because the schools have gotten larger, but the things that we need they haven't increased. So that's kind of my question. I know we were talking about expanding the footprint. Of course, that's the motion, but in general, yeah, there's a lot of students and not a lot of things to accommodate.
Sure. Thank you very much, Ms. Foster. Would there be any other?
That is a question. Like, what do we plan to do? Like, do you want to stay at this size, or do you wish to downsize?
I'll provide the report towards the end of this meeting, but we have seen significant increase in enrollment in the undergraduate area in the first year students. So that means we have demand for English, math, biology, chemistry. And so that's where we are recruiting. That's where we're increasing the size and the pool of talent who can provide effective instruction to the students.
I have another question.
Sure.
Okay, so my question is directed at Dr. Sahu. So Dr. Sahu, students have expressed concerns about the timeliness of academic classes being purged. Is there a proper place to remedy this? Students have told me that they've been purged maybe 2 days before finals and things that are pretty concerning. So I just wanted to ask this question.
Yeah, I admit to it, it happened in the summer. Because of what we allowed, and our students just remained in class. And of the 2,200, 2,400 students at 2 weeks into the semester, there were only 300 students that were paid. So we just didn't have the luxury. If we canceled all the classes, so president then consulted with the faculty senate and agreed to keep these classes open because a lot of the students wanted to remain and they pledged that they would pay. And so that's the reason why it was kept open. But the problem is that if you allow them to stay and they don't pay, they will get a grade and the university will have a large receivable, and we don't know what to do, how to do about it. And it'll bleed into the budget, in the financial statements as a receivable. And so it impacts cash flow. So that's why it was dropped, so that the students will be able to pay and re-register. Every student who wanted to register was allowed to pay and register back. They were not inconvenienced.
Okay, so I think that kind of answers it. I just wanted to know, so there is a process in place and there is a timeliness that they'll know that they will be purged and not like closer to sensitive like timeframes?
Yes, and that's exactly what in the new way of dealing with it, that even though we cannot just go ahead and purge it, the adjustment is taking time. But as per the president's directions and understanding, we will have a purge closer to the census date.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Simon. Thank you, Ms. Bosch. Will there be any other issues to be brought before this committee? Hearing now, we move to item number 8, adjournment. What is your pleasure? It's been moved by Dr. Williams that we would adjourn, and second by Mr. Lawson. Those in favor, please be noted by a sign of aye. Opposes no. Hearing none, we are thus adjourned. And Mr. Chairman, too, I would thank all of you for your indulgence. And I would imagine to my days are probably numbered after this marathon meeting, chairman of the.
Almost getting close to the other side. Mr. Gillum, you definitely handled what was a very complicated issue. Thank you, sir. Before we turn to Mr. Rutledge and the Athletics Committee, I need to take this opportunity to introduce and welcome Mr. Alan Vital or Vital, depending on what part of the state you come from. He said, just make sure you consider me vital to the operations. And that we do, sir. Welcome. Thank you, sir. Welcome back, rather, to Southern University. Thank you. Mr. Rutledge.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roll call, Mr. President.
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge,
Here.
Dr. Randy Whitfield,
Present.
Attorney Jody Amade,
Here.
Mr. Raymond Fondell,
Here.
Mr. Richard Hilliard, Mr. Myron Lawson, Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Move now to item 3. I'll entertain a motion for the adoption of today's agenda. It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any objection to the adoption of the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda stands adopted. Move now to item 4, public comments. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Good morning. They'll turn it on there.
Okay, thank you. There is. Good morning to this wonderful institution's esteemed board. I bleed blue and gold. I'm Stephen Henry Stewart. My father was an instructor of foreign languages here. He's retired. I'd like to extend the invitation for this body to, I implore you to please name the swimming pool here after Lewis Hightower. I made this suggestion on the day that Mr. Dumas was facing his fate. So that is how long ago this suggestion has been in front of this institution. I think Mrs. Ann Smith was the chair at that meeting. I beg you to do this. Coach Hightower unquestionably deserves this situation. He, under his 40 plus years of running the aquatics department, no one ever drowned or even came close to. As African Americans, and you can Google this, this is not the gospel according to me. We drown at a higher rate of any ethnic group on the planet. This is the only African American based indoor swimming facility in this municipality and probably in surrounding areas. The aquatics department here should be second to none. This, and again, I prefaced all statements with I bleed blue and gold. So I implore you to do whatever it takes to make this happen while Coach is still alive, and he's probably on the brink of maybe not being able to recognize what, if you decide to do this. I think he has some form of dementia now, but that's my boy. I pulled him off the bottom of that pool on many occasions. I don't want to tell you what he said. He was, damn, that little boy, he's, you know, to be able to pull a 300+ pound man from the bottom of that pool is, I used to do it a lot. Southern ought to have the most powerful, this campus ought to have the most powerful swimming aquatics program that this city has to offer, particularly to underserved, at-risk, minority, whatever we're labeled this week, has to offer. We have the facility, we have the lockers, we have the showers, we have all of that. I think at one time swimming was, you had to take swimming before you graduated. And we need to go back to that. I know the sisters won't like it because of the hair thing now and all of that, but I know Liz, Elizabeth Eves told me, she said, boy, how is it that you taught me how to swim when I was a freshman and I'm now over the pool? I was in, Elizabeth Eves is now the, will take Coach's place. Liz said, one little student asked her, she said, Ms. Eves, I signed up to take swimming. Does that mean we're going to have to swim? Please, y'all do whatever it takes to name the pool after Coach Hightower. Y'all ought to pass that right now and get Coach up here and put a mural on the wall, you know, because, you know, they had Aquaman, Batman, all of that. Well, my nickname was Aqua. And you can do the N word after that. And I didn't do it. Some of my esteemed, I used to live in the pool. So
Thank you, Mr.
Please name the pool after Coach.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Are there any other public comment? Any other public? Thank you. We'll go now to item number 5. And our fall 22-23 athletic department updating. We recognize our athletic director, Mr. Roman Banks. And I think he has a PowerPoint that's going to accompany his presentation today. Yes, sir. Just sit down.
While they setting up, good morning to everyone. Mr. Gillen, I call him Mr. G. He was my first boss at in Shreveport at then it's Suzzle now, but it was Suzzbo. And making a joke. That was in 1994. I wasn't wearing these, but now I'm wearing them. You told me just stay, keep living. I'll have these soon. So I'm wearing these now. And I have to use these to see these days. Brother Lawson told me to make sure I'm not up here alone. Don't act like no Baptist preacher. He wanted to be out of here by 12. But obviously y'all just took an hour.
Well, Mr. Gillen made sure that would happen.
My grandfather was a preacher saying if the Lord was here by 12:30,
He ain't coming. when I walked in this morning, I seen Minister Bates. You know, I attend Living Faith, and I seen Minister Bates. I say, "What you doing here? I need you to pray for me." What's going on in this building? He said, "No, Coach, I'm on to do the prayer." So I feel pretty good about it. I say, make sure you pray for me. Good morning to this board, Attorney Shorty, our President Shields, the Chair of the Athletic Committee, Attorney Rutledge, and all the board members and committee members of the athletic department. Just to bring you a quick update, I won't be before you long, but I did ask members of my team, assistant directors, to come up today and help me present our information today to the board. A lot of times I'm up front and often the mic is in my face and the quotes in the papers are from me. But obviously I work for all these people over here, and Coach Stand Up and Ms. Sturgis, CFO, Deputy. I wanted to make sure they're recognized because often they're not. And obviously I think that they are the engine behind all this as we continue to improve this athletic department. Obviously, the last time I was before you all, I always talked about, you know, us being on probation as it relates to the NCAA and turning this program around. But my message since last year going into this season, with all the coaches in this athletic department, you know, I tell them we've been there now and we're past that phase. I don't want to go back talking about those days. We're past those days, and let's move forward and head to better turf. And so obviously today, I want to talk about moving forward and what we're going to continue to do and what's continued to be done. But one of the things that I want to talk about is season tickets. We've been on a great campaign for season tickets this year. And we've been able to approve those season tickets, about 1,500 season tickets going into this season. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement around Coach Dooley, the new hire, our football coach. He's been able to awaken our football alumni and awaken our old traditional fans as it relates to the Pete Richardson days. There have been a connectivity, and it seemed like it has caused an eruption to have excitement on our campus. And so we're definitely excited about the hiring of Coach Dooley and excitement. But other than that, I think it's also got to do with the messaging, being able to put our messaging out to our fans and to this community. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, to be on social media, to make sure that we are tapping into resources as it relates to meeting the students, having a great game day environment, and making sure that we're able for everyone to hear our voice across this nation, and to also challenge Jaguar Nation as it relates to buying tickets. I say it'll be a great thing if every alumni buy one ticket. Give you an example. We're talking about the LSU game. Everybody been calling about LSU tickets. LSU game is sold out. You know why it's sold out? Because they have sold season tickets in advance. They don't have to worry about the day of a game. Obviously, they have a nest of tickets called out for the visiting team, in which Southern University have bought all those nest of tickets. And so we're looking at a sellout game, and this game is a very historic game. And so as it relates to the LSU game, this is a great problem to have for athletic department and for a university. And so we're thriving not to be like LSU, but to be in that similar situation where we can move up to 12,000 season tickets. And so I'm urging everyone that's alum, that's a supporter. If you want to invest in athletics, the first thing you can do is buy a season book. It's as cheap as $20 a ticket times the 5 home contests, and the highest ticket I believe is like $40 times 5 for a home contest. So our books are not costly at all compared to other places being $50 and higher. And so we are urging that people continue to support us in all our efforts. One thing that I do want to elaborate on, and I think this is very important to this body, is that we are still committed by Title IX as it relates to our corrective action from the NCAA. Even though we're off that probation phase, we still have 3 years left that we have to show improvement every year of what we're doing in Title IX. That's from salaries to facilities. And these salaries these facilities as it relates to monetary value, these are dollars that we have to raise. For instance, we just put about $65,000 into the softball field. But guess what? Softball fields still don't have restrooms in that area. So we still have to generate those type of dollars. Volleyball don't have their own personal locker room. So we still have to invest those type of dollars. Soccer, we just now been able to create a locker room space for them in Mumford Fieldhouse. So we are still working every day to make this environment better for Title IX and also for our employees, which probably you will see something coming before you next month as it relates to Title IX that we have to show for the NCAA. And so we are still maximizing ourselves and doing the very best to make sure our athletes get the treatment that they deserve as student athletes. And so academic wise, we've been able to secure a grant that we receive, a academic performance grant from the NCAA that we are excited about, that our students continue to excel in the classroom in spite of they busy schedules. We're committed to excellence. And I'm going to have kind of pass a lot of my talking points, but I'm going to have our academic team to come up and kind of spotlight some of those accomplishments.
Good morning. My name is Philippe Carter. I'm the Assistant Director for Internal Operations for Athletics. My primary focus is in compliance and academics. So I'll be really brief. The NCAA utilizes several key metrics to determine the academic health of member institutions. Of those two are the graduation success rate, also known as GSR, or the academic progress rate, which is also known as APR, which we hear about a lot. Our graduation success rate indicates that we graduated 61% of our students in the latest 6-year cohort, which is actually higher than what the institution is doing with the general student graduation rate. We're also meeting all of our APR or academic progress rate benchmarks, and currently all of our teams are eligible, and that's 16 teams eligible for postseason competition. I'm gonna turn it over to our Assistant Director, Ms. Ajane Dillon.
Good morning. So we currently service about 380 student athletes, which is an increase from last year's numbers. In the 2021-2022 academic year, we had Ms. Quamisha Mayhew, one of our top student athletes, served as the student marshal for the Criminal Justice Department. We also had 134 student athletes that earned a cumulative GPA of a 3.0 or above, and they served on the SWAC All Academic team. Along with the SWAC All Academic team, we had 4 women's sports that earned a cumulative GPA for the year above a 3.0. We had softball at a 3.30, we had bowling at a 3.23, and volleyball at a 3.16, and soccer at a 3.0.
Now, looking at that chart, what you all notice? All women. All female sports. And so our challenge, I think softball represents the next highest GPA with a 2.8. And so baseball. So we're working hard to make sure that we continue, but everyone is meeting all the metrics. And obviously we're around that 2.3, 2.5 with those other sports as well. And so I'm excited. I have Mr. Marlon Hollins to come up. He's over, I call him our community development. He has such a long title, but I have him to come up and elaborate on our community services. But one thing that I'm proud, and I want him to make sure that he expound on, is that we have a new laying out a Jaguar Sports Network this year, and that means that we're bringing the Bluff to you. It's our new streaming platform. And he's going to be able to talk about that a little bit as well with a few other things.
Good morning, board. Dr. Marlon Hollins, Assistant Athletic Director for Advancement.
I want to introduce to you guys, when I introduce, hopefully reintroduce to the room Jaguar Sports Network, which is our official streaming platform for Southern University Athletics. On this platform, you will catch all home athletic context, behind the scenes athletics look. So a day in the life of a coach, a day in the life of a player. If you've been following us on social media, you see that we've debuted our new web series called Jag Talk, where we mic up a player or a coach during the event or during the practice game, so we can get an in-depth look at what goes on and off the field. Also, that's the debut platform for our ancillary events. This week, for Welcome Back Week, what we called it Back to the Bluff Week, we kicked off the week with student convocation, and then we moved into our inaugural prayer breakfast on Wednesday. And that prayer breakfast, we had Pastor Bates on schedule. We had Pastor Donaldson, both who are former athletes. But that way, the Jaguar Nation, we can connect everyone across the world to get a deep dive look into what we have going on in Jaguar Sports Network. And also want to encourage everyone, it's available on Roku TV. So when you get home, download Jaguar Sports Network and give us a good rating. And it's also available on Amazon Fire if you don't want to use the World Wide Web, which is www.jaguarsportsnetwork.com.
Is there a cost associated with the?
Yes, so we have different levels of streaming. We have some general services, which is equivalent to YouTube type series. So we want you to create that engagement to pull in. But when you watch a game contest, it is a development point for the athletic department, so we can start driving some funds and increase that revenue that we need.
What's the cost?
It varies. So we have a single game pass that I want to say the single game for football is averaging $9.99 to $14.99. Non-football averaging $9.99 to $14.99, and the football games are tiered based on the opponent and the game schedule that we have. All right, and as we move into advancing the athletic department, I think it's very imperative that we mention our large social media following across the three public huge platforms: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We have 70,000 followers combined, and that rate continuously to grow every week. Right now, we had a growth rate of about 114 new followers per week. And when we think about engagement and insight, we're reaching about 15,000 people per month on our posts. And that's on Instagram alone. And when we move into the development platform, of course, our two development partners are True Blue Foundation and the Alumni Federation. But many people don't know that we run two huge development campaigns per year. One of them is Jagathon, that is supported by both of the sections, and the other one is the $1 Million March campaign. But as we move into alumni engagement, fan engagement, student engagement, we want to encourage the whole family to get involved in Jaguar Nation. So if you notice, you'll see the S Club sign up there. That is the exclusive organization for all of our alumni athletes to be involved with the coaching, be involved with what's going on campus, but also help create some of those connections from internships, mentor opportunities, as well as the new hot topic, NIL. We want to lean heavy on that way. The Lucuma Kids Club is our exclusive kids organizations for Jaguars age 2 to 11. And we believe, as Dr. Shields always say, the strong engagement for recruitment start at the early ages. So this is a program that we've rebranded and researched to build up our activities of getting in schools, reading books to kids, get them engaged in sports, but also let them know that Southern is home and this is the place you want to be. And for regular fans, we have our Lucuma Club, which is our official donor club for all athletics. And it is tiered on different basis, because for each tier level, which means when you increase your donation, you have a greater, deeper look into Jaguar athletics. Yes, sir.
Vice Chairman, Dr. Whitfield.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Hollins, I just got a text from someone, and actually Chairman Shorty had also heard there was some technical issues accessing the Roku or the Jaguar network. Has that been teased out? Do you know of anything or any issues? I didn't know about it, so I'm asking you if you know.
I haven't been made aware of many issues. I think everything's worked out on our streaming platform on Wednesday when we did the prayer breakfast at 7 a.m. We had 175 viewers. So,
and that was from a couple of weeks ago. So, all right, cool.
Yeah,
cool. So
and that was this past one.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
Thank you.
Amity, we have another question.
Okay.
On the streaming, do y'all do that? Have y'all ever been approached like the ESPN thing where they pay you to do the games? On like not football. It won't count for football because they wouldn't do it, I don't think, but like even softball, baseball, and they pay, but you got to provide the camera and all that. But
So no, sir. All our games are owned by the conference office.
Okay.
And so the only thing, no third party streaming is allowed in our conference.
Okay, gotcha. That answers it.
Okay, and
But
one more.
Now that means, So, but what Dr. Hollins just talked about does not count as third party. It's
No,
the
university.
Okay. Okay. Oh, Ms. Foster, you had a question? Okay, I didn't know that's what you did. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, you're fine. Hi, Dr. Holland. I have a quick question. You were talking about your social media platforms. There's about 70,000. I follow some of you guys, so I see what you're talking about. But a lot of younger people are now on TikTok. Do you have a TikTok account?
Yes, so we have a department TikTok pages.
Okay.
Most of our athletics teams too, I will honestly say it's most of the women's teams, but we are building up more traction for all of our 16 sports on TikTok.
It's football season, so you should get on TikTok.
Yeah, that's one. And the cheerleaders just debuted a new TikTok video yesterday. Okay,
Well,
now
I will
last,
tell you, that's a good question because I'm a dinosaur when it comes to social media. No, Instagram, and it's not MySpace anymore, but whatever the latest.
MySpace is gone.
None. But I must confess I am somewhat addicted to TikTok, but so I would love to see you guys on there.
Okay, yes, sir. And our last point I want to reference, this season, we're debuting 4 new fan engagement pieces to our athletic competitions. I only highlight 2 of them heavily. The most vital one I would think is our Jaguar helpline, and it's the all-day text line for Jaguar Sports. It's a dedicated text line for fans, supporters to report issues at games, to ask questions, and also provide feedback because we want to increase our game day experience and make it a better one with each athletic contest. And also you'll notice that our athletic competitions, you'll see the debut of the Jaguar information booth, and we'll have an on-site representative, which are normally members of our Go team, our student support group, who's there to help you with real-time assistance. And then as you notice here, you'll see a QR code for game day. That QR code would be for questions that you'll have, that we'll have a live person answer it during the game. I'll be honest, that QR code right there is for donations. So I do actually support Jaguar Athletics.
Dr. Hollins, we have a question from the chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. The question I've got is, one complaint I've heard is the ease with which you can get the tickets. And I'm navigating the website now and looking at the process you would go through to get season tickets or suite tickets or tickets for any of our athletic events. And it's not as seamless as I think we can make it, where you should just be able to click on and buy whatever package you want. And there should be options to buy any season tickets for any of our sports. Could we look at making this a little bit more user friendly, especially in a time where everybody's on their smartphone? We should really be able to do this without having to call the ticket box office and do this from an app.
Yeah, no question about it. You're exactly right. And so we engaged in that problem. And I'll be totally honest with you, and I shared in our senior leadership, is that our ticket process hasn't changed since I was assistant basketball coach here. But fortunately, that problem has been addressed. We have a platform that's paid and ready to go. Dr. Shields has really come in and pushed the help that we need to make that happen. And so I can faithfully say that new process, digital process, will be rolled out for the beginning of the season next year. And once again, I'm thankful for Dr. Shields for pushing that out and understanding the urgency of that.
Did I miss here? I thought we were going to try to have that up for the basketball season.
We're going to try. We're going to definitely try with the training.
All right.
But we definitely want to
under promise and overperform.
Yeah. See, so he's definitely on top of it, understanding what that means. So we do understand that we're able to get, as soon as we're able to put that platform to use, we anticipate a 3 to 5% increase in ticket sales on that alone. And so we're closing out, not trying to take too much more of the time, is that if you see here, that's the new track in Montfort Stadium that we're under construction at the moment. It won't be ready due to the rain process and delays for the first contest, but it'll be ready by the second home contest. And we are very thankful to the foundation and Coke. The foundation really helped us create a lot of great things for our student athletes, but this is about a $1.2 million project. You can see our corporate sponsors there on the side. And we really want to thank our corporate sponsor because of present. We've been able to bring in a little over $500,000 to help us do a lot of things for our student athletes that our budget do not cover for us. And also we're thankful to Chancellor Pierre at the law school. They've been able to partner up with us, and they're providing several of their students that want to engage in different areas of compliance, sports business, and all those areas to help us staff our athletic department. And so we're thankful for all our partners as we continue to grow our athletic department and make this very feasible and more friendly for our student athletes.
Well, before I recognize Mr. Lawson, I want to give a shameless plug to CSRS.
One of our biggest sponsors there.
And I want you to know that Ms. Rankin sent me the invoice for this year's sponsorship, and I requested the check yesterday. Mr. Lawson, who's going to work to get State Farm up there?
Absolutely. And I want your company to step up as we did with the Bayou Classic. It was about $2 million a year. By the way. So
we're working.
So I like anybody else want to get in the challenge? So I like what we have going on.
I bought the first check, so let's step up.
And I also say Dr. Shields have bought it. He wasn't here a week, and he bought his gold helmet in our gold helmet campaign. And so I think we got 16 others that we can get in that campaign as well. So we always looking for to raise money.
Just so you know, it's not all sports. The first contribution I made was Top Jags.
Top Jags, that's right.
Good deal. Did you have a question? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I recognize Mr. Fonda. Just say, but one thing I'd like for you to address that I know people complain is particularly for, homecoming, very large kind. We want our stadium sold out is parking. And what I try to explain to people, unlike some of our sister institutions, we're unique in the sense that we only have 3 entrances on this campus to get on and get off. It's not as porous as some of the others. For example, LSU and some of the others. Can you talk about what you're doing to try to provide for a greater ease of getting on and off the campus, and whether or not we're creating more spaces or using shuttles, like if we could utilize some of the space on what we call the farm road near where ag is?
Yeah, so we're creating, and that travel plan would be posted on our Go Jaguar Sports platform. But we're looking at also partnering up with CATS, where we will be bringing people in from like locations like my Pilgrim Baptist Church off campus, where we can satellite people in and they don't actually have to park on campus. And you spoke to it very well, that we are challenged. And for our level, we have one of the best attendance in football. And at no greater time, I often say it, that's why we have to be sharp on our game. We have the most visitors at one point on a particular Saturday. You have anywhere from 20 to 40,000 people on this campus. And this campus only have 3 entry points. And when you start talking about that traffic moving in at one time, it gets very tight. And also our parking is limited. Now, we know we're working on a parking garage to come in the future. That's in our master plan. But as it rains and the areas get saturated, we cannot park in some of the grass areas. That causes another problem. And so we are working every day and communicating with people to try to make our processes on and off campus and parking much easier for everyone. And we also, the stadium is open 2 hours earlier. So we don't have, when it's time to go into the game, and still we know it's open 2 hours early. We still, everybody want to come in that last 15 minutes before the game. Don't try that at LSU, or you won't get in at a halftime. But we're trying to make sure that everybody understands the thing that we have in place to make it much easier for people to get on and off campus, and to make sure that they get in the game and out the game. And now that it's going to really help, that the entry point off Mill is going to be open. Now we're going to be able to go back to be able to use those areas. And some of the areas, please stay with us and listen to us, because it depends on where you enter at a certain time, you're going to be limited to parking in those areas. So that's going to be very important. Number one is that our students, we have a gate for them to enter off campus. So with our students with their hang tags, they get in and off campus, no charge. They get in free. They can move around the campus, but we tell them that basically to use the back gate. They understand that the law center, everybody that's a student and live on campus or have classes, it is a niche called out that we know where they coming in from, how they enter, so it won't affect them. But we also know that from Friday to from 5 o'clock to Sunday at 10 o'clock is governed by athletics and is really restricted, so everybody can have a good time and we can keep everyone safe as well.
Thank you for a thorough response, Mr. Fondale.
Attorney Rutledge, my question was somewhat similar with regards to parking, but also the security. I know in the past, you have kind of beefed up the security. Can you just tell us a little bit about that as far as game day experience? And, you know, we have a lot of folks that are coming on campus and the type of security apparatus that we have to make sure everyone is safe.
Yeah, so our security, we actually hire all entities of law enforcement, and is zoned off. And so from the sheriff department to the city police to the constables, we have everyone on this campus. And the top priority here in the last 3 years has been totally about safety. And we want to make sure, and so therefore we have zones that are blocked out that cars cannot get to, because we have had while everybody's enjoying the game, my staff and I are working along with our campus police and Chief Lewis to make sure you all are kept safe. And so there's a lot of things that's going on behind the scenes that we communicate with to make sure that we're able to keep everybody safe, keep people out of certain zones and people out of certain areas. We have a clear bag policy. We know every time, and you're going to get a complaint. People come up with don't have a clear bag policy, and they say, well, I brought my purse up here, but guess how many guns we compensated? All right. And so we don't let them in. And that's the rules are just the rules for a lot of different reasons. And so, and though people might come back and put some negative on social media because they saying that they came up with a person, we want to let them in, but there are rules and regulations to get in the stadium. But then when we do check them, there's always something to that, right? And so I just want to make sure we're all mindful of that.
I also want to commend you and your department on what y'all have been doing. I know you mentioned earlier that we don't really talk about the past that much. We know where we've come from. To get to this point right now, to be able to see the success, you know, the in particular, the increase in the tickets. There's an interest there, but all of that kind of works together to get us to where we're at. So again, to you and your staff, continued success in what you're doing.
Thank you.
I have a question from one of my colleagues, Mr. Athletic Director, regarding tailgating opportunities at the LSU game. But before you answer that, I know a lot of my colleagues are experiencing this too, because we've sort of been talking about it. But I will tell you, I have got more calls about ticket availability for this LSU game than I do for Bayou Classic almost. And one of the things I've tried to explain to them is that LSU only provided us with 6,000 tickets. And as you said, you know, 90% of their stadium is sold out already because of season book holders. And so it's not our game. We're really not in control. We're guests. And we did have a sort of a kickoff meeting where they attempted to sort of go over some logistical issues. But are you aware of tailgating opportunities or locations for our fans?
You know, LSU is a very different, unique situation with a fan base. And so I think it's going to be quite an experience for our fans when they go over there. And so they don't actually offer any tailgating spots, particularly for fans. You can park in certain areas. You can be very almost in the community, but they only have spaces available for corporate partners, and they have a space available for the athletic department as a whole. And so what I've been able to do, and want to thank Cal South, who stepped in quite a bit with us. We're partnering with Cal South. That's going to give all our fans a chance to hang out in our common area. I think that there are some of our corporate partners here also that's going to have tailgating spots because you're affiliated with LSU. But we have we want to make sure that all fans have a quite experience. And so if they want to get closer to the stadium and hang out, Cal South has provided some means for us to have to accommodate probably about 1,000 people or a little bit more for that LSU game. And so and be mindful that there are no parking accommodations. You know, you have to think about it. And this is the real business of athletics. Those tickets, the 6,000 tickets that they gave us, you know, the 4,000 of them, if I'm correct, Coach Kirshner, are in the 600 levels. And guess what? The other tickets, 275 or 300 is for the band. And so, and they're on the lower level. And so start counting the numbers. And
my
so,
church members reminded me, complained about that they were nosebleed. I said, did you expect to get a 50-yard line?
yeah. And so I'm saying that's the business that we'd like to be in here at Southern University, where when fans or visiting teams come, we only have a few tickets called out for them and our stadium is packed. And everybody around here, I know that you can remember those days, and that's the reason why we're talking about bringing those days back. And so it's not welcoming for us, it seems like, because we don't have the seating that we want and all those things. But in reality, that's the business side, and that's what you want in college athletics.
Well, thank you. Any other questions from board members? Mr. President, did you wish to add anything to this? Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Athletic Director. Thank you for your team. I just want to close by congratulating and challenging you. First, congratulations on the plan that you've outlined here. I like the technology that you're going to use. I think that's going to make you a lot better going forward. Thank you for the leadership you provided in the selection of our football coach. I have just seen and experienced nothing but excitement around Coach Dooley, the expectations that accompany that. And I think that has influenced the significant increase in our season book holders. But I want to challenge you to try and figure out, if you can, those 1,500, how many of them are returning season book holders, to try to figure out why they came back. All right. And to make certain that we continually work on, Mr. Athletic Director, Mr. President, providing our fan base with a greater game day experience. All right. Because people can complain, but they can also show you how they feel with their feet by not coming. And so we want to make certain that we provide a safe and as wholesome and as family-friendly game day environment as we possibly can.
Yeah, and once again, I want to thank you all, this Board of Supervisors. I think you had a great understanding over the past years of what we had to go through as it relates to the NCAA punishment. But Southern University is back. Our athletic department is thriving. We on I call solid foundation. And I think when you're on solid foundation, you can expect high expectations. It's the first year that all teams have all scholarships back, and we're excited about that. And you can see from the academic side, and I want to congratulate them. That's why I wanted them to come, all the hard work that they put in this as well. And also, I also want not to leave out Dr. Sahu and his team, who we work closely with as well. Whenever we call on them, they assist us. So once again, I humbly say thank you to everyone and appreciate it very much.
Next time you come, we want you to bring the Commissioner's Cup with you.
That's the plan.
Is there any other business to come before the committee? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gillum, we move to facilities. Oh. Vice Chair, Mr. Whitfield.
We'd like to call Facilities and Properties Committee to order. Roll call.
Mr. Sam Gilliam. Dr. Andrew Whitfield.
Present.
Mr. John Bartholomew. Mr. Richard Hilliard. Mr. Myron Lawson. Dr. Leon Tarvin, second. Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Present.
Have a quorum.
We have a quorum. At this time, we'd like to move for the adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion? So move. We have a second. Adoption has been appropriately moved and seconded. Are there any public comments pertaining to the agenda, facilities and property agenda? No public comments. We'll move to action or informational items number 5, facilities and properties updates. Go. My brother Dawson.
Well, good morning, everyone. To Chairman of the Facility Committee, President Shields, Chairman Shorty, and this illustrious committee, Board of Supervisors. A couple of updates that we have. We go through our normal process you have on your attached sheets, statuses of different projects and where we're going. But a couple of highlights I want to do on a few updates. First of all, I was asked by President Shields to look at on the situation on the Hardin Scenic intersection safety concern. I think it was brought by one of the board members concerning a situation that happened a few years ago where there was fatality there. So we were asked to look at what some possibilities we're looking at to make that a more safe intersection. So there are a couple of things we're looking at, and that is the possibility of signalization of crosswalks and possibility of a skywalk that will allow safe passage. I had the opportunity to speak with DOTD even this morning, as early as this morning. I finally got in touch with the safety person with DOTD. They explained to me that there is a project that's on the Move Baton Rouge. You know, the Move Baton Rouge did an initiative several years ago. They're doing several intersections, several road projects in the city. That is a effort to do something at that particular intersection. Secondly, they said they're going to make sure that we dealt with the safety issues. So they're reaching out and getting more information about that. And we will report back to me, and I would also get that back to the president and in tune get this to the board. So it is something that we're working on. She did say, and I think it's important to note that the Secretary of DOTD was aware of it and then made sure that that was addressed. So it is a DOTD corridor, and I think that we're doing what we necessary to make sure that is addressed. The next thing I want to address is the campus capital outlay site visits. I think most of you know that every year, Board of Regents schedule meetings to the campuses, and we have those meetings that are scheduled that are coming up. We will be at Sussex next week with Dr. Peening and this group. The following week, we will be at Suno, and the 15th of September, we are going to be at the Baton Rouge campus. On the Baton Rouge campus, we're going to be including the Law Center and the Ag Center in those presentation. My group has sent out templates to all of the different chancellors to help put that particular presentation together. And we're asking that the different campuses and everybody work with getting any support, stakeholder support, board member support and legislative delegation at those particular meetings. It would consist of a presentation of the current projects that we're going through, projects that we're submitting at the next legislative session, and also we'll have a campus tour to identify those particular projects. Okay. One other thing I want to address on the next board meeting, we are going to be presenting all of those capital outlay projects to the board. We are moving forward very quickly. I see my president give me a thumbs up. We've already had it in our schedule to make sure that those are presented to the board before we move forward with getting them to planning, zoning, and those at least FP&C and anyone else in the Board of Regents, so that everybody would be aware. We have been working closely with our team, with the different chancellors, and it's going very well. We have even institute training. We went through training
of e-courts and to make sure everybody understood the process and we were on board. So I think that is going very, very well.
Mr. Chairman, by observation too, and again, thanks to Mr. Dawson, commendations, strong commendations to Mr. Dawson and Ms. Simone Whitmore. They did something very unique on the, what was it, the date of it, July 28th, I believe.
Yes, sir.
They had a systems-wide Zoom meeting that involved all of the campuses throughout the system. And commend the fact Dr. McLean was and his staff, Dr. Walker, even from the Agricultural Research Center, Dr. Penning, his staff were there, people from throughout the system. And what they did was, it was a tutorial that set us up, I believe. It gives us a big guarantee for success. Because we've got to remember, the deadline for submission to all of this, to facilities and planning, is November 1. We got in the golf driving a mulligan last year, Mr. President, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that this time around. We were guaranteed indeed. Well, let's put it like this. Everybody has the information that we need to get those projects ready, get them presented to the board for approval, and get them submitted to FPNC by November 1. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But Ken Dawson and his people did a great job. And we thank you for that person that you added over there, Mr. President. It appears to be, we're getting the benefits from it.
Thank you, Sam.
Mr. President.
Thank you. A couple of things I'd say. Thanks to Ken Dawson and his team for working on this. I want the board to know, I heard loud and clear that they wanted our requests submitted in a timely fashion. I will tell you that I also heard that from the Commissioner of Higher Education, because they're involved in this. So we're on it. I've asked Ken and the chancellors to have their material on my desk by September 1, so we can vet it there, and that you will have an opportunity to approve this in September. But in the absence of it happening then, we will have the October meeting to approve it so that we can submit our request to the legislature on time, November 1st. I would ask the indulgence of the members of the Board of Supervisors to please, if you have any requests, concerns, input that you want to have, that you get it to us in the next couple of weeks so it can be contemplated as we put together the board materials. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. And then Mr. Rogers.
I would just offer a friendly reminder to the president of a conversation that we had in New Orleans with several members of the legislature. And I think this kind of goes towards that. They noted for us that LSU does basically a legislative retreat where they put forth what their priorities are for the upcoming session. And I think just a reminder that we should look to do the same thing, and that may help us move our facilities and other issues that we've got that are going to have to go before the legislature. It may give them some insight into where we want to go with things and help them push certain things along a lot faster.
Great. I get one thing done and now you add something.
Attorney Reynolds.
At our recent meeting of the System Foundation Board of Directors, we hired a company that is going to assist with that capital campaign. President was involved in that discussion as he sits as a voting member of the board. My question is, how much involvement, Mr. President, have you and Mr. Dawson had in, while the campaign is underway, prioritizing what projects we undertake first on that list?
Well, that engagement is just starting. We have one very clear need that's been made obvious over the last few weeks, and that's on-campus or near-campus housing for students. So there are a couple of things we're working with them in tandem to move on now. One is opportunity with the foundation to do the on-campus facility. It appears that the off-campus opportunity may take longer, but we're hoping we can move on those now. The rest of the priorities, I think we need to work through with the consultant and the foundation and the system.
But I want you to drive that. I don't think that that's something that we should delegate externally. I think you, Mr. Dawson, in concert with the campus leadership at every level, and I suspect that that's going to be informed and influenced by the relative age condition of the facilities. It's going to be influenced by whatever programs that you want to see implemented, for which we do not currently have space. Obviously, housing is a priority, which is a signal that we're trending in the right direction in terms of enrollment and demand. And so I want to make certain that you are at the tip of the spear on that, and that you say to them, okay, great. You're willing to go out and raise the money. You're willing to help us, but this is my priority. This is where I want to see us focus on. Okay.
Thank you. And I would say Mr. Doss is also already feeling that, because I think he's going to be able to take a side trip to sunny Wisconsin to evaluate a brand new engineering building that's been built there to help inform what we do with our engineering and science building. So
we are also bringing in the user agency with us. It's not just me sitting saying what the user agency want, is getting with them and have them have their input. So we'll be taking members of the engineering department with us as well, so that we can get the best possible facility for the purposes of Southern University.
And I also want to compliment you. I hear really good things from the people that you're dealing with externally to move forward our capital outlay. I hear good things about that.
Are there any other?
Quick to complain, so I want to always give the attaboy where it's at.
Yeah, well, I could get.
Ken, I'm not hearing the same things he's hearing. Nadia.
Can you hear me? Because I could just.
Yeah,
speak
there
loud.
you go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I'm jumping the gun. I'll wait to other business. I don't know if you were going there yet.
Any other questions or comments before? I have a comment, but if you have something, go forward.
I do. I have several, so I can wait.
Okay. Ken, I was going to ask, there's an issue and it's been going on. Of course, we're very excited about the potential to totally revamp and rebuild Southern Lab, and that fell through. But there's a safety issue with the football field. We've had some issues in the past with that. So I don't know if you've done any research, have some information or not. We can talk about it, but we got a practice field that's not very conducive for those young men to practice on. So
We'll talk about it.
okay, definitely. All right.
There's one other thing I think that I know Attorney Shorty wanted to make sure that I mentioned, and that is concerning the road at Suno. Of course, there was, and Dr. Ammons called me several times on it as well. But I'm glad to say that we have some forward movement on getting something done there. I was able to speak with the chief of staff and deputy CAO, same person, dual titles, about what we need to do with that particular road. It is a hazard. I mean, it's hard to drive it. There's some places that you can't even get through. It's very difficult. The goal was to basically have them to take it up to current standard, and then the university will be turned over to the school. They're going to schedule a meeting in the near future to come out and look at it. And so we're going to have a chance to view it. They had some questions about, whether or not there was drainage on it and basically utilities. We should be able to take care of that at our next meeting with them. And then hopefully they will come back with a plan forward of what we need to do to resolve it. Thank you.
Nadia.
Hello. So I have some questions for you today and also for the board. So both faculty and students alike are facing parking issues at a large magnitude. This issue can be accredited, of course, to the wonderful increase in enrollment, but not the increase of parking availability. This issue is foreseeable. So yeah, we kind of knew it was coming. So I guess my question is, what are the roadblocks from preventing the increase in the parking lots or the parking garage? I know the parking garage essentially was in the master plan, but at this moment, I think we need an interim solution. Now, I have heard of shuttle buses, have heard of CATs, but essentially with the 2 surveys that I've administered on both campuses, the issues are persistent and students can't park. So I guess I just need to be able, yeah.
Well, the parking situation, usually the campuses, the facility person on the campus directly handle those particular situations. But I would definitely look into it. I can tell you that, yeah, there is a master plan to have parking garages built on campus that would help facilitate that. But at this particular time, the finances and revenue that's necessary to get those projects going have to be available so we can continue to move it forward. So I will check with the local campuses and see what plans they have in place. But as far as a project of sorts, that's basically my direct responsibility. There's not a project on the table right now to address it.
Okay, so essentially, I guess it's been addressed in the master plan, but working with the local facilities, I think my next question is, and of course, if it's not directed at the right person, please someone tap me and let me know. Students and professors are getting ticketed, but there's no parking. So I think it's a bit kind of a conundrum. If you can't park your car, you're still being ticketed. Your reserved spot has been taken or there are no parking spots. So to give you some clarification, undergraduate students are parking in law center parking lots. Law center students are parking in reserved parking spots. They're also, it's kind of, to be funny, it's kind of a duel in the parking spot. There's creating your own parking spots. And essentially professors, faculty, students alike are getting ticketed. So there's not really a grace period, even though classes have started. And some of the concerns that we've heard is that students are essentially saying, why buy a parking pass if I can't get parking? And so now we're parking at the commuter lot, of course, at FG Clark, which is fine. But I think the master plan is amazing, but interim solutions, we have a shuttle bus, but I just don't know how sustainable that is, essentially, with both campuses.
But I'm glad you shared that, and we're gonna have to address that with security. I don't know if there's anything that can be done. If they're parking in places where they're not supposed to park, they're gonna probably ticket them regardless, but there's President.
We'll look into this. This is
Yeah.
the first I've heard this, so
Right.
we'll look into it first thing.
Thank you. My next question is, sorry, I told you I had a lot of questions, Chairman. Thank you. So I know that the band room was a concern. Are there any updates on the band room or did I just miss that?
That project is ongoing right at present. That was a concern with the leak in the rehearsal hall. That project has been assigned to a contractor. The contractor is currently working it. So I suspect the finish should be pretty soon. I mean, the only thing that could hold them up is a bunch of rain, but I found out that they started possibly end of last week, and I know they're working it this week.
Okay, thank you. And the last one is that we heard about the pool, but I've heard that the pool needs funding or updates. Is that a thing that's been on your radar?
That has not, but I will look into it. First time I heard about the pool.
Okay, well, that's all my questioning. Thank you guys for addressing parking.
I noticed that we still have that large plot of land belongs to the alumni organization, and someone has been clearing it off. I didn't think it was to build anything at the time. Could we not consider negotiating with them to lease that surface for temporary parking, because you can put blacktop on it and a few more trees need to be knocked down? I don't know if anybody given any thought to that possibility.
There actually may be something being built on there sooner as opposed to later.
Okay, I'm back over that. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Chairman. I have one more, well, maybe two more questions. I'll be brief. So I know that housing is a priority, Dr. Shields, and we've seen that. I guess my question is, because these issues are foreseeable, what is it going to look like next year? Like, I guess I just don't want to be in the same situation also with parking, because you'll get the same call if I administer the same surveys. So also my next question, so what is it going to look like next year? And I know that you're pushing housing as a priority in the capital outlay project, but can parking also be made a priority? Is that in there?
We'll look at it.
Okay.
We'll look at it. I'm not going to promise. I'm not going to assume that suddenly I'm going to have a brilliant solution that wasn't thought of before I got here.
No worries.
But we'll look into that. Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to raise it. Thank you so much.
Any other questions, comments, concerns from the adults? Here. Thank you so much, Mr. Dawson.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson.
Thank you.
Moving on to other business, any other business as it pertains to Facilities and Properties Committee. Seeing none, there's a motion for adjournment of the Facilities and Properties Committee. So moved, seconded, and so moved. We adjourned.
Thank you, Dr. Whitfield.
Thank you.
Now we're going to turn to our Finance Committee, and as she's told me, if I say her name without prefacing it with doctor, I'm gonna be in trouble. So Dr. Arlonda Williams.
She didn't say it.
I didn't say that. Mr. Pres, I would like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Dr. Orlando Williams.
Present.
I want to note that I didn't have to be prompted. I did it earlier. Mr. Myron Lawson, Mr. Sam Gilliam, Mrs. Christy Reeves, Attorney Des Moines Rutledge, Dr. Leon Tarver II, Attorney Edwin Shorter.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The
Madam
first item is the adoption of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion, Mr. Rutledge, second by Mr. Gillum. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Public comments? Action items. Item 5A, request approval of the fiscal year 2022-2023 operating budgets for the Southern University System Employee Schedule, the Southern University Board and System Administration Operating Budget, the Southern University Board and System Interinstitutional Cost Transfer Budget, the Southern University Board and System Administration Interinstitutional Transfers Direct Charges Budget, the meals, special meals and miscellaneous travel budget, the Baton Rouge Campus Operating Budget, Law Center Operating Budget, New Orleans Campus Operating Budget, the Shreveport Campus Operating Budget, Agricultural Research and Extension Career Center Operating Budget, the Athletics Intercollegiate Budget, the Athletics Budget, SUNO and SUSLA Athletics Budget. I'll entertain a motion. Moved by Mr. Tarver, second by Mr. Gillum. All those in favor? Yes, sir.
And this question is for Mr. McClinton, Dr. Tarver. And this is, I want to make sure that I'm reading this correctly. So let's pick on the law school right now. On page 2 of the document that you provided, it says total revenues other than state funds appropriated. And in the over under column, I see here a negative 5 million. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, sir.
So what does that mean?
Okay, I'm not sure. I'm looking at the column you're looking at, but I can go through this and see.
Well, no, I just, this doesn't mean that we're adopting this and the law center is in a deficit posture.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Let me just kind of explain this.
Okay.
If you don't mind. Basically, what we have, the total budget last year was 170 million for the entire system, the operating budget. This year, the operating budget is 180 million. So we have a net increase of 9.2 million system-wide.
Okay.
And that 9.2 million, the negatives that you normally see, you have non-recurring expenditures, which means that, non-recurring adjustment, monies that were one-time dollars that were provided to us last year that we no longer have this year. We had $7.625 million that fell in that category. But to offset that, we had an increase in self-generated revenues of $7,025,000 for the law school. We had HERF funds that we had in the budget last year.
Mm-hmm.
But those dollars, when we get ready to go in this year, we are not asking for those dollars again. So it shows a decrease. So it's really the non-recurring dollars that you're looking at. But in addition to that, we increased student fees by 7 million. And that was basically, say, on the Baton Rouge campus and on the at the law center. We have for specialized programs and for Title IX, the budget increased by 2.2 million, and that include adjustments for the law school formula and the ag center formula, and also special appropriation for the for Title IX, because if you recall, during the session, we had a lot of talk about Title IX, and funds were allocated, additional funds were allocated to in the budget. Formula adjustment, we had formula adjustments for the state general fund. The formula for the Baton Rouge campus was up about $820,000, but the one for New Orleans and Shreveport was down. So it netted out to be a $541,000 increase. Mandated costs, and that's the cost to cover like benefit, teacher retirement, state retirement, audits, and insurance and those type of things. We had a $968,000 increase for those. Faculty pay, the faculty pay increase system-wide was $2.2 million. And based on that, we actually have in the process now processing the payments, so they'll have the money in their August check for the faculty. And when you go through all those adjustments, we also had some line item adjustments. For the law center, they had a $700,000 line item adjustment just for operations. The New Orleans campus had a $2 million online adjustment for online programs. Shreveport, $400,000 for campus operations. The Ag Center had $400,000 for beef cattle research. And also the Ag Center had another $300,000 for Ag Center LSU joint appointment. So those totals come back to 3.8 million. Overall, when you do the net, it's $9.2 million increase, which is about a 5.1% increase.
So let me ask you this, over the last couple of years, clearly we've been awash in some one-time revenue that we kind of commonly refer to as HERF funding.
Right.
How independent are the current budgets that we're about to approve? How independent are they of those HERF funds?
Okay, based on the budget.
And I guess what I'm trying to say, I apologize for interrupting you, is I don't, because at some point that money is going to run out. And I don't want recurring expenses to be relying upon that one-time money. So I want to know, what kind of independence do these budgets have from those revenue streams?
Yes, sir. All of the campuses, with the exception of Baton Rouge, are not relying on any HERF funds. They're going to spend their HERF dollars, but they're not using the HERF dollars to balance their budget. Baton Rouge has about $2.3 million worth of HERF dollars that they're using. Those dollars are available, but I have talked with all the CFOs and said to them exactly what you're saying to me now, that those dollars are one time and they should not rely on those funds. And they developed, if you recall, some months ago, an austerity plan. And based on that plan, they indicated how they would actually work their way out of that, not having to rely on those dollars. Shreveport has done that. Suno is fine. Ag Center and Law Center, they have no problems. But it's one that they're working on the Baton Rouge campus, with the understanding that after this year, those dollars would no longer be available. Mr. Pugh and Dr. Sahu has been looking at that to make certain that when this year ends, that we will not have any reliance on those dollars, and they will make whatever adjustments that are necessary to accomplish that.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I have one or two questions for the president, and
Yes.
I'm done. I suspect, Mr. President, that this budget process was in development at the time of your onboarding. I'd just like to know how much involvement you've had in this, in the process since you come on board.
Well, I met with Mr. McClinton to map out a strategy, and I've met with each one of the chancellors to go over this year's budget and to find what the issues were and how they were mapping them out. So probably not as much direct involvement until I arrived, but I've been talking with Mr. McClinton about the way I want to see these developed over time. By the time I got involved, a lot of these things had to be put in front of you and the Board of Regents and et cetera. But we're already discussing about how to have that process differ in the future.
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm always interested in is some fresh thinking, right? Some fresh thinking. So you bring a different perspective from UW. And just based on your involvement here to date, are there any things that you can call upon your budgeting process there that might inform what we can do better here?
Well, what I think is that we need to push out the responsibility and accountability closer to being on the ground while still monitoring it and making sure people stay between the rails that they need to do that. And so I'm asking all of them to engage in this process earlier, to be more transparent about what resources are available and what strategic initiatives, the deans, for example, of the colleges. We've been talking about the academic programming. Well, it's kind of hard for the deans to develop a strategy to improve the enrollment education programs if they don't have some control over their resources. So my notion is we want to push that out and start those discussions earlier and map them out sooner so that when we arrive at this point, there's a much fuller understanding down throughout the organization about where the money is, how it's being spent.
Final question. You've articulated to us most recently at our retreat about 2 or 3 priorities that you have that you want to focus on. And my question is, and maybe it was late in the process, but do you see those priorities reflected in our budgeting? I used to ask this all the time of your predecessor. If your priority is to do X, Y, and Z, show me how it's prioritized in our spending. And so
we probably haven't had as much of an opportunity in this go around as I'd like to see as we move forward. One good example is, so the formula funding garnered more resources for it. Okay. I would like to see that formula funding, because it's essentially based on student outcomes, used to reinforce and build on the good outcomes across the system, and not just fold that into the budget moving forward. To say, okay, we got an additional $500,000. Does that allow us to hire more mental health counselors or more academic advisors, but use that money? But that's an example of how I'd like to see our focus on student outcomes be central to our budget planning.
Because that's an investment that certainly we can realize a return on.
Absolutely. I think the funding formula should be right in our wheelhouse, because it's directed at achieving things that sort of like STEM disciplines, underserved group. We should be using that to leverage it in
graduating kids in a timely.
Right, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to adopt these budgets. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Any other business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
I'd just like to thank Mr. McClinton for the fabulous work he did, sort of educating a rather dense new president and adapting the process fairly quickly to what my priorities are. So thank you, Mr. McClinton.
Good job. So there's a motion by Mr. Rutledge, second by Dr. Tarver. All those in favor? You stand adjourned.
Thank you.
You messed up my record.
We'll now turn to Mr. Lawson and the Governance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Clinton, I'm sure appreciates that compliment, because before you got here, you had a hair full of head and it was black. Sure wasn't a problem. Okay, we'll call the governance committee order, roll call, Mr. Secretary. Sorry,
Mr. Myron
President,
Lawson.
Secretary. Okay.
Mr. Myron Lawson.
Present.
Dr. Leon Tarver II. Dr. Leroy Davis. Miss Nadia Foster. Miss Christy Reeves. Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Present.
I believe we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 3 is adoption of the agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda as printed? Not, entertain a motion for adoption.
So moved.
And motions made by Dr. Tarver, properly second by Board Member Foster. Any questions? Hear none in favor, all in favor, aye? All in favor, aye? Hello? Motion carries. Item 4, public comments relevant to the agenda as printed. No cards. Okay, we'll go to item number 5, action items. That's item A, request for approval of revised uniform personnel policy. The unified uniform personnel action policy was updated for the following. Request FMLA to be approved. Remove honorary degrees from inclusion of personnel policy, not SUBOS approval. Item B, request for approval of the SU policy on leave absences, SUS. Item C, request for approval of out-of-state fee waiver revision. What's your pleasure on these action items? Do we have a motion? Moving global as a second on global. Probably second by Board Member Foster. It's okay. Okay. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Motion carries. Item number 6, any other business need to come before the governance committee? That's how we do it in the governance committee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson, for your expediency. We can now turn to the Personal Affairs Committee. Dr. Tarver.
I would like to be able to duplicate that, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll call the Personnel Affairs Committee to order. Mr. Secretary, we have a roll call, please.
Dr. Leon Tarver II.
Here.
Ms. Christy Reeves. Mr. Raymond Fondell. Attorney Jody Amadee. Reverend Samuel Tolbert. Dr. Orlando Williams. Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a motion to adopt the agenda. We properly moved in second that we adopt the agenda as presented. Are there any questions? No additions? So have it. Item 4, public comments. Are there any public comments at this time? No cards. Thank you very much. We move to action item 5, and we have several. A. Question. Thank you. A, B, C, D, and E. We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Amity and Globo to approve items A, B, C, D, and E, seconded by Dr. Williams. Yes, ma'am.
I don't have I am gonna. Yeah, it's yes for me, but I just have a question. Yeah. Can I ask it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna start wearing sneakers to the meeting. Please don't look at my feet. So no problem with the salary questions. I just had a question. I was looking at the separate attachment, the FAR for institutional advancement, and it kind of went through a question that students had throughout the system. So my question is, essentially, the pandemic has created challenges for both faculty and students alike throughout the system. We have managed and we move forward, but what is the process of reviewing faculty evaluations for adjunct and visiting professors? Because this is a question throughout the system for students.
And I'm not so sure it's germane for this agenda, but I don't want to refer that to the officers that would be responsible for that. I don't see, do we have a personnel officer here who can address that?
Well, that
Or
would be
the
academic
shotgun?
affairs on each of the campuses.
But, all right, could we start with Dr. Sahu, who's the
Sure.
Executive Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs? Dr. Sahu, you want to refer?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. The president has, insisted that there is a feedback loop that we use that all faculty we have beginning last year, and a technology platform where all instructional faculty are evaluated by the student, what we call the student rating of instruction. More than that, all faculty this semester at SUBR will provide a plan. When you look back, it's 2020. So they will provide a plan ahead of time in terms of what they plan and how they will, perform in teaching, research, and service. And then quarterly, that's the guidance I've received from the President Chancellor. Quarterly, the department chairs will have meetings or as frequently needed in terms of giving performance feedback. And then in the month of April, May, there will be a formal evaluation of performance. And our plan is not to going forward, since we have reached the Board of Regents prepared or indicated salary to 100% at each of the ranks. Going forward, we'll have a process where the salary increases will be linked to the performance feedback of the performance evaluation. And this is the president wants not only for the faculty, this also applies to all administrators, meaning all my direct reports I'll be responsible for, and they will be responsible for, like the deans will be responsible in giving a plan in ahead of time, having frequent conversations, being evaluated, and they will do that for the department chairs, and the department chairs will do that for the direct reports.
And this will be system-wide?
This will be certainly for the Baton Rouge campus. And if I understand what the president is asking, and he asked that in the cabinet meeting for the system, this will be for the system.
Thank you. Does that help, Ms. Foster?
Yeah, is this applicable with all chancellors, or is this just individual to SUBR?
That's what I just asked.
You said that's what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is.
To the president.
Great.
System-wide.
Perfect. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you so much.
Now, the process may be a little different in the purview of each of the chancellors, but system-wide, we need to be a little more diligent about following through and doing evaluations of all members, employees of the system.
Thank you, Mr. President. That was a motion on the floor, has been moved and seconded that we passing global items 5A, B, C, D, and I think and E. All of those in favor, let me know with a sign of aye. Those opposed, have it. Thank you very much. And now we are down to item F. 5F, request approval of nomination and recommendation for emeritus professor. What campus is this?
This is Baton Rouge, sir.
Didn't say that. Okay. Are you going to speak to that? Dr. Sahu?
Yes, this is a distinguished professor in mechanical engineering. He had a long tenure at our school. He contributed very meaningfully, and he retired. And as a way to, recognize his contribution and the distinguished service, there's a proposal that was given by the department, reviewed by the college, then by the Council of Deans, and then the Academic Council, and then recommendation made to the president, and now it is being forwarded to you for consideration, sir.
Sure. Any questions on that? May I have a motion, please? Moved by Senator Amity and seconded by Mr. Fondale. All of those in favor, let it be known, sign of aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. And we move on to item 6 of the business. Is there any other business before the committee at this time? Seeing none, I have a motion to adjourn on item 7. Moved and seconded, we adjourn.
Thank you, Dr. Tarr.
Thank you, sir. Go on with that.
The meeting of the full board, Southern University Board of Supervisors called to order. Roll call, Mr. President.
Attorney Edwin Shorty.
Present.
Dr. Randy Whitfield.
Present.
Attorney Jody Amadei.
Here.
Mr. John Bartholomew.
Here.
Dr. Leroy Davis. Mr. Raymond Fondale Jr.
Here.
Ms. Nadia Foster.
Mr. Sam Gilliam, Mr. Richard T. Hilliard, Mr. Myron Lawson, Ms. Christy Reeves, Attorney Des Moines Rusley, Ms. Ann Smith, Dr. Leon Tarver II, Reverend Samuel Tolbert, Dr. Orlando Williams. I think we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please? Moved by Dr. Williams, seconded by Dr. Whitfield. The agenda is adopted. Seeing no public comments, we will move on to our special presentations, the Above and Beyond Award. Chancellor Pierre.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
There were a lot of things going on this week. The Above and Beyond Award, I want to present two individuals who did something that was not even in their job description. They came and worked sometime starting at 7 in the morning and resumed their regular duties, and then stayed after 5 most days because I was there and I saw them working. And they just took up something to say after the bomb threats that HBCUs were receiving and the announcement by Vice President Kamala Harris that there would be funding to the U.S. Department of Education to help HBCUs deal with this issue, that they wanted to make sure the Southern University Law Center would be able to put forward proposals to get the funding. And they did it. They just did it. They did it. They said, we're going to do it. I said, okay. And we learned a few weeks ago that they were the first HBCU awarded this grant. And it's been reported to us by the U.S. Department of Education, which is part of this press release that they approved and they sent out. And this is a really significant piece because I just read yesterday that a lot of HBCU presidents were asking, we had these threats, nobody's been arrested, what's going on? And in this story, there was a mention that the Southern University Law Center was the first HBCU to get this award and did it without having to have to go back to any revisions. There are 6 other institutions that are trying to get it, and they're in negotiations because whatever their proposal was, they're going to have to go through revisions. And that was done by Dr. Mary Johnson and Eleanor Collins, who basically didn't have to do this. They just took it up on their own. And because of their efforts, the Southern University Law Center will be receiving $133,000 in this effort on the project that was very well received by the U.S. Department of Education and deals with the mental health impacts of bomb threats on students and faculty at the Southern University Law Center as an HBCU. And their project is such an exemplary project. I believe that they probably will be invited to the White House to talk about their project. And I wanted them to be recognized today for going above and beyond. And so they're here. They didn't know why the heck they were coming here. They thought they were going to do a presentation on their grant. And I want them to come forward and to really recognize the diligence and the, I guess, integral part of their honesty in really being concerned about Southern University system and Southern University Law Center. So I present to you these two fine individuals. I can't believe it. And the important thing is that both of them have received great training at the Nelson Mandela School of Government. Don't be speechless now.
Thank you, Chancellor. In February, Chancellor Pierre sent out an email to the faculty, the staff, students, speaking of the bomb threat. And I remember Ms. Collins coming and saying, let's look at this. And so we began to look and did some research on what was necessary to initiate the grant. And we started working, and make a long story short, we went through all kinds of research to find out what we needed to do, what needed to be presented. And when we did, and we got the grant, and we're now working on some processes to get the students involved and things of that nature. So I'll let Ms. Collins tell you about that portion.
Okay. So we, because there are so many historical moments when bomb threats have been perpetuated against the African-American community, starting even as far back as 1921 with Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then in 1940s with the District Cracks, and then over into the bombing for the church in Birmingham, Alabama with the 3 little Black girls. We decided that we were going to do something that was historic, because the Biden administration saw the need for the African-American community to receive something for this particular problem that we've had historically. So we decided to do it, and we're going to address it with an in-person sessions and online sessions where we're asking those who attended HBCU prior to law school or prior to graduate school, and those that did not. We wanted some feedback from those that went to PWIs and those that went to HBCUs.
Thank you.
Now it's here too.
Now move to our action items. Action item 6A, request approval of the minutes of the June 24th meeting and request approval of committee reports and recommendations. I'd like to take 6A and B together. I have a motion. Moved by Bartholomew, seconded by Mr. Lawson. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Action items A and B are approved. Action item 6C, request approval to amend the bylaws for the membership of student members. This particular item is to make sure that student membership circulates between all of the campuses. So that's why this bylaw is being changed. Can I get a motion to approve 6C? Mr. Bartholomew moves. Second. Ms. Foster. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? 6C is approved. Before I go to 6D, I would like to commend Ms. Blosh on the hard work that she's been doing relative to the Suno Foundation. And I know a number of you noticed that we've moved that off of the agenda. The reason is Ms. Blosh and Al Harrell have basically hammered out an agreement that I believe we have consensus on with the members of the Suno Foundation. And they asked for a little bit of time to review it with their membership. So we've given them a little bit of additional time till early September to review it before we bring this back. But I do want to thank Ms. Blosh publicly for all of the effort that she has put into coming up with a fair and equitable agreement that I hope everyone can see fit to sign it. Thank you, Ms. Blosh. Now, if we can move to 6D, request approval of a memorandum of understanding between Southern University Ag Center and the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Dr. McMeans.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In an effort to try to diversify the workforce for DNR, a lot of the states are reaching out to HBCUs, specifically the colleges of agriculture, to bring students in. The great thing about the students going to Wisconsin early on is a lot of the time, especially in forestry, they get put in places where there are not a lot of people that look like them. So they get in a little earlier and are able to acclimate a little bit quicker once they get out into the workforce. And we hope that this is going to be an ongoing effort with Wisconsin DNR.
I'm wondering if President Shields had anything to do with you going way up to Wisconsin.
Just a coincidence.
Can I get
Iowa if I was having it.
I bet. Can I get a motion to approve action item 6D?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Tarver, seconded by Dr. Whitfield. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Action item 6D is approved. Action item 6E, request approval of a memorandum of understanding between Suno and the Global Resource Solutions, Inc. Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are requesting approval to enter into a subcontract with Global Resource Solutions. And by the way, this company is owned by a Jaguar and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Tony Williams. They are a federal contractor. He is a retired Marine, and he has a very successful company, and he has selected Suno as a subcontractor. And what we will do as an outsourced agency is that we will process vendor payments for this agreement between GRS and the Air Force. We will retain a 15% administrative charge, and we will also have the opportunity to provide training as a part of this contract. So we seek the approval of the board to enter into this subcontract.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve action item 6E? Moved by Dr. Williams, seconded by Mr. Bartholomew. Any comments? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Action item 6E is approved. I'm sorry, Pastor.
I need to abstain.
Let the record reflect that on the previous vote, Reverend Dr. Talbert abstained from the vote. You have so many titles, sir. Action item 6F, request approval for business executive exchange program between Southern University College of Business and the National Urban League. Anybody in particular addressing that one? Dr. South? We've got a movement by Mr. Rutledge, seconded by Mr. Lawson. Any comments? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Action item 6F is approved. Mr. Vital. Resolution, sir.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. The resolutions for this morning, offering condolences. Mr. Vincent Brown family. Mr. Vincent Brown received the Bachelor of Arts in Rehabilitation Psychology on May 19th, 1986. 2 years later, he received the Masters of Arts in Rehabilitation Counseling. Mr. Brown was an ambassador for Southern University. He was a life member of the Southern University Alumni Federation. He served for 6 years as president of the Southern University Alumni Federation, Washington, D.C. chapter. Mr. Brown touched so many lives. He will truly be missed by his family and friends. He passed away on Monday, July 25th, 2022. Mr. Anthony Claude Buddy Leach Jr. family. Mr. Claude Buddy Leach Jr. was born in Leesville, Louisiana. He was a former state representative and United States congressman. He loved the state and the people of Louisiana and took great pride in his work and service to both. He passed away on Saturday, August 6th, 2022. And third, Mr. Rinaldi E. Jacobs Sr. family. Mr. Rinaldi E. Jacobs Sr. was a native of Morgan City, Louisiana. He graduated from Southern University in 1987 with a bachelor's degree in political science and earned a master's of arts in mass communications, also from Southern University, in 1990. He made Baton Rouge his home. Mr. Jacobs was a businessman involved in multiple ventures and involved in a plethora of community activities. Two of his passions were promoting economic development in North Baton Rouge and in supporting his alma mater. Mr. Jacobs was a faithful member of the East Baton Rouge Parish Alumni Chapter. He passed away on Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. And Mr. Chairman, that are the resolutions for this morning.
Jacobs on there?
Rinaldi E. Jacobs.
Yes.
Yes, that's the one I just wrote.
Can I get a motion to approve the resolutions?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Rutledge, seconded by Mr. Lawson. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The resolutions are adopted. Now we'll move to our informational items. Dr. Means, and thank you for hosting a wonderful board event last night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sun Beef was the star of the show.
That's what Chancellor Pierre was telling me. Yes. So Dr. Jana Snowden will present on medical marijuana.
And Dr. Snowden did a wonderful job as well yesterday evening, but I will say she had a number of products on a table with just empty boxes, which I do have a little bit of an issue with, Dr. Snowden.
Okay, please don't have an issue with me. No, but again, it's an honor to stand before you to report on this program. Good morning to everyone. The medical marijuana program continues to thrive. And as you just mentioned, you know, all those boxes, we have 22 products with the SU accent or logo on them. So we're very pleased about that. We also have 61,000 patients registered in the program. And of that number, approximately 50% are active. A few months ago, I reported this number around 22,000. And the increase in number may be partially due to legislative changes that have taken place this past session. There were 10 bills submitted to the governor regarding marijuana and hemp programs, and I'll highlight just a few of those today. Excuse me. One of those is the move of cultivation from Louisiana Department of Ag and Forestry to the Louisiana Department of Health, and this became effective on August the 1st. Also, nurse practitioners and medical psychologists are able to provide recommendations for the program now, so that is a plus for us. Public employees are protected, and I know a lot of people are going to love this one, but public employees are protected from discrimination or firing based upon marijuana use when they have a valid medical marijuana recommendation. And also the passage of the bill for reciprocity, which allows patients from other states who have been who have a recommendation from their state to actually come here to Louisiana and purchase products from us. So that does help us, especially when we're talking about the Texas area who doesn't have a market yet. So that's great for us. I'll also like to report that as we approach the end of the first 5-year term, contract term, that the university has received $6.15 million from this program. And we are now entering into a phase in which we will start to receive additional percentages, for the product. So Mr. McClinton will be happy to hear that one, I'm sure. But Ilera now employs approximately 70 individuals at the Baker location. And as the program continues to expand, the site, the facility sites expand as well. We've been in talks about satellite locations throughout the state to help accommodate this expansion and to accommodate the market. And that concludes my report because I was told I had to be very brief today because it's lunchtime. But if you guys have any questions, I'll take those at this time.
Well, thank you for your comprehensive
Thank you.
report.
Thanks.
We'll now turn to the president.
Let me thank you, everyone. Let me echo the chairman's congratulations to Dr. McMeans and his team for an extraordinary event last night. It was great. I had met some of those young people last spring when I was here. It was great to see them again, see the excitement on their face and learn a little bit about them. I'm about 6 weeks in, and let me thank everyone sitting across the row there because all of you are contributing to my education, and I appreciate the efforts of the chancellors and the senior leadership of the university and helping me adjust and adapt. And I appreciate all the hard work and efforts you're putting into the work that you're doing and tolerating the effort it takes to educate me on so many fronts. And also I'd like to welcome Dr. Alan Vital. He's been on board officially for a week, although he's engaged before that. Being without a chief of staff for a week did challenge me, and he stepped in and doing great things. And his experience at 6 different institutions of higher education, several of them HBCUs, and the nature and quality of his work has brought insight and support to me. I'm listening, still listening and learning about Southern University, about all the moving parts here, and I appreciate that opportunity. The last couple of weeks, mostly immersed in the enrollment process across the system, getting regular updates from all of the leadership of those campuses. And I'm pleased to report overall enrollment looks good. I will leave it to the individual chancellors to speak to the enrollment in their units. It's early. We won't be taking an official count that's for publication until the census date. But it's on the SUBR campus, it looks really good. And I thank all the people involved in doing that. That's the good news. The opportunity is to do this onboarding of incoming classes on this campus better. There are housing needs, there are registration challenges, billing, financial aid, move-in challenges, and the SUBR group of leadership, we've sat down. We're collecting the input from every direction, good and bad, and as soon as things have calmed down in early September, we'll do a complete debrief on that, looking to communicate what the challenges are and to learn from them and have a much smoother process as we move forward. I know many of the board members have taken calls and had interactions with students and families that are concerned about that process. It is at the top of the list moving forward. And I would be welcome to have the opportunity to present our planning once we go through this debrief. We've also been busy off campus, had dinner with a group of Baton Rouge area chamber earlier this week, met with the leadership of the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, to gain some insight there. I'm asking them to put me in front of other groups. Have had conversation with several business and industry. Next week, I'll be meeting with the plant manager and some alumni from Southern of the Exxon Mobil group to engage with them. So it's been an exciting and a great opportunity for me to learn. Next week, I'll also be in front of the Board of Regents for my first opportunity to talk with them collectively. Did meet with a committee of the Commissioner of Higher Education put together to address special needs students on our campuses this week, and have asked Dr. Sahu to investigate that and see if we might not be the first HBCU in the country to engage in that sort of programming. Longer term, still worried about whether or not we're going to have to wear life vests to meet in this building with the erosion problems. The DOA has raised that question with me, and so that's going to be front and center moving forward. I already mentioned our efforts to increase the housing on this campus, and at the how would I describe it? Input of a couple of Mr. Lawson and others. I think this board ought to be looking and reviewing our mission and vision statements to make sure that we're in alignment. It's something we ought to do every 2, 3, 4 years. So we're putting together information for this board to consider. And probably takes be a great subject for the retreat whenever that happens. But that's my report. Be happy to take any questions before I hand it off to my colleagues.
Dr. Williams, Mr. Gillum, come right in.
So, President Shields, I have to say this. I know that you've received lots of complaints, but we still have to recognize the good. Dr. Walton, I have to say, has gone beyond the call of duty. I called him with about 10 names, I kid you not, and I just text every last one of them. And he made certain that each one of these freshmen had a great first experience. And I have to say, from one of the parents who did not, this was her first time with any experience of college. And she said, is it too late for me to go to Southern? And so that was a good, and it spoke well to him and his team. And I think that needs to be noticed, because we do bash or fuss a lot, but in higher ed, I understand that, especially that first moment when that student comes on campus. And he's made that experience a lot. Like I said, this lady is in her late 40s, and she says, is it too late? And I'm like, it's never too late for education. But I have to speak to his team and to this Saturday, an organization that I'm in. And so, Mr. Fondell, I do take recruiting heavy as well. We're sponsoring an expo. And so they were kind of lackadaisical. And just by one phone call, we have the Southern University Law Center, the Southern University School as a whole, and SUNO all stepped up to the plate to say we will be there. So I just want to say, thank you to, of course, Dr. Pierre and his team, Heather Freeman, and Dr. Walton, who really took that text. And we were doing this on a Friday night and Saturday morning to get these students in. And he never said anything like, it's Saturday. He never said anything. He texted me back to say, have I taken care of all of them? So I just really want to say that. And to you to publicly say thank you, because I never heard your story before. And your speech at commencement was more than encouraging. And so I just want to say that we wish you well. And just hearing your story lets me know that we're going to be able to touch students that other people have not been able to touch. So to you, thank you.
Thank you. And it's important, I think you make a good point that there are a lot of people who work very hard here, and a lot of students who have great experiences. And that takes a lot of effort and commitment, but we also ought to be committed to continuous improvement. I did want to mention one other thing. I haven't forgotten about the search for the Shreveport campus, but we're gonna pause and hopefully in the next couple of weeks get the search committee put together.
Mr. Gillum.
Thank you, Mr. Chancellor, and thank you, Mr. President. You anticipated my question. I appreciate it because I've got people I know in the Shreveport-Bossier area who are looking, and they wanted to know if indeed, is it going to be feasible we're going to have, and I on that process, I'll talk louder, okay, that we can get a monthly update until indeed we have a permanent chancellor.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Quickly, I requested probably about a year ago, and maybe it started and then stopped. I'd like to see us informed when the students are given notice about events that happen, particularly like threats. And I just asked that we get put on a text thread. Are you all getting text messages about what's going on? And emails from Ms. Merrick's office, of course. But,
So yes, the answer to that is we'll figure out how to get the board informed. I was having a conversation yesterday about the whole sort of how we deal with all kinds of things, active shooter, deaths, the weather. I think we probably have a really good handle on, but we're going to. It was Corey, I think, Ms. Blotch, that we need to do a tabletop exercise. I need to feel comfortable that I know exactly what I'm supposed to do in those events, and everybody on each of our campuses ought to know how we're going to respond to those, what the call chain is, that kind of thing. I suspect much of that is in place. I just haven't been introduced to it yet, but your prompting tells me that we need to follow through with the board on those fronts too.
thanks.
Any other questions for the president? All right, we will now move to our individual chancellor reports. Start with you, Dr. Ammons.
Thank you. I want to start out by indicating that our enrollment at this point is up. We are seeing increases in our first time in college enrollment. And we're also being challenged by this growth in that more of our students now want to reside on the campus. And in addition to that, we have students from other institutions that we're trying to house. So we're working feverishly as we speak to expand the number of facilities that we have on the campus. But, you know, again, things are looking very well as enrollment goes. I want to just mention three things beyond enrollment. During the last legislative session, the legislature created a healthcare workforce study group, and they asked for nominations to come from the university systems, and Chairman Shorty received that request. And I want to let you know that Dr. Kelly Smith, the founding chair of the nursing program at SUNO, has been selected to serve on that healthcare workforce study group. And this group is going to make recommendations to reform healthcare workforce training and development in the state of Louisiana and make a report to the House of Representatives. So I want to congratulate Dr. Smith on her appointment, and Chairman Shorter, thank you for your support for Dr. Smith. I also want to say, Mr. President, in terms of the steward of place priority that we have, our School of Social Work is performing exceptionally well in this space. And I just want to make note of two recent accomplishments by faculty in the School of Social Work. Our Dean, Dr. Chason, as well as Dr. Derek Freeman, serving with the All of Us research group. And they have a grant that is focusing on health disparities, research, and ways to engage African Americans and underrepresented population in medical research. And I want to congratulate them on that work. And also one of our faculty members in the School of Social Work, Dr. Torrin Sanders, has been elected chair of the City of New Orleans Ethics Review Board, which is an extremely important body for the City of New Orleans. The rest of my report is in the packet, and I conclude my report, Mr. Vice Chair.
Dr. Williams, did you have a question?
I'm gonna ask probably the same question to all, but I want to know what an actual number of enrollment is, not including dual enrollment students.
As of today, that number is around 1,600.
And where are we with the apartments at Suno? As far as I know that Dillard has moved in already? Or
Yes.
is in the process of
Yes.
my little nephew just informed me that he's going to be living on Suno's campus. But how are we with the repair of those that were not able? And what is the actual number of apartments that need to be repaired?
Well, it's a big number. I mean, we got decades of neglect that we're trying to deal with. As of day before yesterday, we needed 22 additional beds. I have asked that we go beyond that and that we get pretty close to 50 beds. And so what we're doing is that we're remediating moisture, whatever is in those apartments. We have a remediation company. We're replacing air conditioning units. And that is going extremely well. They're working in tandem. So we're trying to get close to 50 additional beds. It'll take care of the overflow that we have now. We have students from Dillard who are living in a hotel. And so we'll bring them back. And if we get close to 50, we'll have about 30 over what we actually need. And so if anything else happens, we'll have space on the campus.
So the apartments that are not livable, there is a plan. And I guess my question is, we're at the beginning of school. Why wasn't that addressed prior to us getting to this point? I mean, we're trying to push for overflow and additional. And the reason I ask is because that is a money generator. Those apartments have no debt to them, correct? So that is sole income to the school. And to me, there should have, and I don't know if I should be asking this question as Ken here, but I just need to know why wasn't a plan put in place prior to where we are now as far as needing extra beds if we knew that we had other schools on contract to lease these apartments, and that is a generator for the school.
No, we had a plan. We have more than what was expected. And so what we're doing now, we're getting in place about 50 above what we need, with people walking onto the campus saying, I want to stay on campus now. And we have a construction manager who is on the campus today to help us work out a plan for the rest of the units. But I can tell you that this is a long-standing issue from, just really neglect. And so now we have the expertise on the campus to give us advice and counsel on how we move forward. And it's going to be in phases because it's huge.
So I would like to request that at each meeting coming up, that we get a report on an update on the status of these apartments and where the plan is, where we are in each phase.
What I think we should do is, why don't you send the board a report on where we are with occupancy, how many apartments are down, and that kind of thing, and what your plan is going forward with those apartments, how many we can bring online in the next few months.
Right.
So that everybody can get a detailed look at what's going on.
Very good. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
That's it. Thanks.
Does that conclude your report, Dr. Ammons?
Yes.
Dr. Penny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the board. The chairman used the phrase yesterday that he has challenged all the chancellors, and that is to tell our story. We don't tell our story well enough. And so we put this edition of Sussler's report to really capture a year-end review of the 21-22 academic year and share a synopsis of the path forward for this current 22-23 year. Of course, everybody knows Sussler was established in 64, opened for instruction in 67, has been in operation for 55 years. The university is accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges, Commission on Colleges, and the good news is that we're good for the next 10 years through 2031 with no recommendations and no findings. Along with regional accreditation, one of the hallmarks of academic programs is your programmatic or specialized accreditation. And here I just want to highlight the tremendous work of the faculty and staff. The phlebotomy program, awarded for the maximum 5-year accreditation. Our Associate of Science in Nursing program, accredited for the next 8 years through 2028. Our Health Information Technology program received continuing accreditation for the next 7 years. Our Radiologic Technology program awarded continuing accreditation through 2028. And just yesterday, I received an email that our Medical Laboratory Technician program has been recommended for continuing accreditation for the next 10 years through 2032 by the National Accrediting Agency for Clinical Laboratory and Sciences. It speaks to the testament of the tremendous work, the quality that's being generated by our faculty and staff. And oh, by the way, 54.6% of all credentials at Sussler happen to be in nursing and allied health. So it is one of our money makers. And this testament, the programmatic reaffirmation for the durations with no findings, speaks to the work of the faculty and the staff. You have before you quite a bit on the other divisions. I'm not going to belabor many of those, but I do want to touch on the division of arts, humanities, and social sciences. Often we share the programs that we have in the STEM fields, but we also have tremendous work going on in the performing and liberal arts. For example, a partnership speaking on engagement with stakeholders, Love Shreveport, tremendous work done by Dr. McRae, working with the city of Shreveport, bringing together the city and the town. You see the town and gown concept being elevated and epitomized on our campus. Of course, the highlight and hallmark of any university is the end of semester graduation and the pinning ceremonies. And those were beautiful events. And I thank Chairman Shorty, board members that attended, and our very own Mr. Sam Gilliam served as our keynote speaker. Where do we go from here? 22-23. President Chancellor Shields has charged all of us with 3 to 4 goals that speak concisely and align to the vision that he's shared. At Sussler, that's goal number 1 is improving student outcomes. Goal number 2 is strengthening our academic inventory and building our research capacity. Goal number 3 is stabilizing our fiscal health and strengthening campus infrastructure. And goal number 4 is building strong connections with our stakeholders, being stewards of place. Just a little bit on the contributions that the groundwork we're laying for goal number 1. Based on the budget we've developed, we're standing up an academic support services division that we're considering calling either the center or the division for the achievement of student outcomes and success. This has been fully funded. During the next board meeting in September, we're putting forth the leadership, an executive director for retention and student outcomes. The sole mission of this unit is to look at student outcomes on our campus. Number 2, we have charged our enrollment management folks to put together an enrollment management plan that focuses on recruitment, retention, and graduation. We brought all our faculty to the SREB average. Someone asked earlier about online education, 100% online RN to BSN partnership has been established between Sussler and also the Baton Rouge campus. In the area of grantsmanship, 28 proposals, $12 million, of which $7.7 million has been awarded. The budget stabilization, you heard earlier, Sussler's budget has been developed with no one-time funding in it. It is all recurring dollars, and we've shrunk our footprint to less than $13.9 million. Capital outlay, we're very grateful to our legislative delegation. You have before you with $31.75 million last year This year, we have a request for $33.5 million. And then the last piece is touch on our being a community in place. You see all of the STEM camps, students being excited about drone technology, being excited about the potential of what the STEM field offers. Mr. Chairman, I have the rest of the report before you. I'm not going to belabor it, but I do want to take this opportunity, Mr. Chairman, to thank you and the board for gracing me with this opportunity to serve in this role at SUSLA. I want to thank President Shields also for his continued support in this endeavor. And after much prayer and after much discussion with mentors and given this very deep consideration, I do want to take the occasion to share with the board that I shall not be an applicant for the permanent position of chancellor. I will not be a candidate for that position, but instead complete my original mission. And that original mission was, when I was sent down, is to bring some stability to the campus and help transition SUSLA to the next permanent chancellor that will be taking office prayerfully in January. So I look forward to a hard push over the next 4 months. And Mr. Chairman, unless there are any questions, this completes my report and I yield my time.
Mr. President.
Could you speak a little bit about enrollment numbers for this fall?
Yes, sir. I'm looking at a report as of yesterday, last night. Our enrollment numbers for SUSLA fall 2022, 1,749. Fall 2021, 1,743. We're actually up by 6 students. And let me put this in perspective. One of the reasons why I indicated we need a strong enrollment management plan that the team will be working on this fall semester. We're working off of different activities and strategies over the past year, not a comprehensive enrollment management plan. So we had actually had a gap of almost 130 students. We've not now closed that gap, and we are actually ahead by 6 students. And that's a testament to Mr. Michael Taylor, who has been in position for only the last month and a half. To Chair Lady Yolanda Williams, Dr. Williams asked the question, what does this mean without the duly enrolled students? The 1349 number only includes 16 dual enrolled students. We have not yet placed our dual enrolled students into the pipeline. So without that number, 1733 are all continuing students and new freshmen.
Thank you.
Dr. Penning, I want to say that we put you in a very challenging position, sir, and you have done a yeoman's job of hitting the ground running and operating under what can only be said were very difficult circumstances. We appreciate everything that you have done and all of the energy that you have expended to make SUSLA to bring SUSLA to the point that we want to see it, and to help all of the students in the Shreveport-Bossier area. So thank you for everything, sir. I appreciate your comments. And if there's anything, well, you're not going anywhere. So, as you transition back, we'll have questions directed to your old role, sir. And I thank you for everything. Mr. Bartholomew. You concur. For the record.
For the record, for fine assessment and beyond. He went beyond. So I think the next beyond and above and beyond ward should be his for all the work he has done without any reservation whatsoever. That's
Thank
all,
you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Chancellor McMeans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the honorable board members and President Shields, I want to thank everybody for coming out to the reception. I don't think we've done anything like that for the board in a number of years. And so I enjoyed it as much as you did. And it was especially nice to see the students, and they were just excited about the fall semester, because that's what matters at the end. Also, for those of you who do not attend, we do have a gift for you, and you can check with Dr. Renee, and he can give those gifts to you. And it's not sun beef. I know that's what you were getting ready to ask.
I can tell you, I've taken all of their bath bombs.
Shouldn't have been drinking.
So I have 3 items, and I'll be brief, and I'll make sure that my office gets the full report to you. One of the things that I'm truly happy about, and it goes to a conversation I had with Dr. Whitfield, is that we were contacted by the USDA. I don't think it was a coincidence because we had the deputy secretary here and we had an opportunity. She toured the meat processing lab. And so we found out recently that we were chosen as one of two historically Black land grant institutions, the other one being Tuskegee, to receive $2 million each to upgrade our facilities. And the hope is that we will receive another round so we can not only upgrade it, but expand it. Because as we stated during our conversation, a lot of individuals, it has doubled the time that it takes for meat processing to receive it back processed. So this will entail outreach, especially to socially disadvantaged farmers and other individuals who deal in that particular area. So we are excited. The document is due on the 31st. And so we'll have that in, and hopefully you'll see a big difference in how our meat processing facility looks. We have effective leadership there in Mr. Chisley, but we want to make sure our students are learning in a proper environment, and also to hold classes and workshops with individuals. And we have a number of faculty members, but the two leaders are Dr. Fatima and Dr. Walker. They're leading that efforts, and we have a number of others such as Mr. Chisley, Dr. Bagley, Dr. Toledo, Dr. Marshall, Dr. Melion, and also Dr. York. Many of are in this audience. So I'll keep you updated on that particular project, and hopefully that's something that we can talk to the secretary about as we talk about being a HBCU that can deliver meat processing outreach. The other item is a follow-up on the May meeting, and someone asked me to give an update, and that was our endeavor of addressing mental health support and activities during the school year. As you remember, the young lady who passed away was a student in the College of Ag. And so we put in place a lot of programs that we hope that would allow our students to seek other avenues as it relates to mental health. And I'll name some of the programs that we're having in place, but we'll also be on our website. We will have Jagriculture, and that is just partnering with the university. And some of these things, Chancellor Pierre did lend me some expertise on, and some of the things they're doing at the Law Center. We'll have virtual meetings. I went to our first one at the end, and it was outstanding. We also have in-person small group therapy sessions. We have another program called Self-Care because CAFCS cares, and that will just be interacting with some wellness activities for our students. One of the things that we're known for being an ag college and an ag campus is that we have a lot of pets, a lot of animals. So we've done this before, and I've seen it done at a lot of larger universities for pet therapy. And so we're actually going to put that into place. But it just depends on the pet. Some pets do not want to be held or headed. So we'll make sure we have the appropriate pets out. We also will be doing some outsourcing of counseling, and everything will be on our website. We will have numerous activities because we feel like this is very important, and I'll make sure that our website individuals keep us updated. And one other thing that we are doing as we speak, we have what's called a love wall in memory of Arlana Miller. This was at the students' request, where they can go by and put their thoughts about the young lady. And also we're raising funds to support efforts in mental health awareness. So those are just some of the things we're doing. I didn't read the entire list, but these things are moving, and I'm just excited under Dr. Marshall's leadership that we are implementing these. And last but not least, I had an opportunity to talk to Randy Moore, Chief Randy Moore. And as I told President Shields, when I spoke with him, great personality. First thing he led with, he said, "I am a graduate of the College of Agriculture at Southern University." And he said, oh, and by the way, I'm the first African-American chief of the Forest Service, a 115-year old agency. And his main priority this fall, one of them is to get to campus. So we're going to try to arrange that. He wants to meet with the president and the students, but I'm just proud of Chief Moore. If you know anything about the Forest Service, that's definitely a challenge, and he is doing great things, and he wants to support Southern University in various capacities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McMeans. Chancellor Pierre.
Yes, sir. Thank you. A couple of things, and I'd like to have Dr. Yolanda Smith and Dr. Derek Warren do a presentation on a project we've been engaged in called LabSet. Let's talk about our enrollment. We are at 949 students, registered 813 have paid so far, so we've collected on 87% of the students who owe us money. We'll be working on the under 136 pretty soon, and hopefully close the deal on them in about a week or two. So we should be good on cash flow. And the Southern University Law Center 75th anniversary gala. We'd like to know from board members. I think we've extended invitations if you would like to come. We have a table or two reserved for board members. So I've been texted today to say, please make sure the board members let us know. So we got to give a final count to the LaBerge Casino to make sure we got this right. So I will ask you to do that. And I want to thank Dr. McMeans for having me eat the best steak I've had in years. I mean, the best steak I've had in years. I think I'm still digesting it. It's that good. It's that I still have great memories. But we have been doing a lot of things that have extended the footprint of the Southern University Law Center. And Dr. Yolanda Smith, where is she? There she? All right. So one of those projects is LabSet. We have gotten the board to vote on a lot of different things, and people said, what did we just vote on? So I from time to time, I want to bring you some examples of what you voted on and what it means on the ground. Dr. Smith?
Thank you. Good afternoon. And thank you, Chancellor Pierre, for this opportunity. I just wanted to share briefly that the state's Board of Regents has a master plan that says that about 65% of the jobs by the year 2030 have not even been thought of yet, because they will involve technology, and they will involve credentialing, and they will involve stackable skills that our students and our alums will have to have in order to meet the state's workforce. So what we were able to do a couple of years ago, right at the beginning of COVID, we were getting contacted by a lot of companies saying, hey, we want to partner with the Southern University system to train your students. And we decided to centralize this, and Chancellor Pierre agreed to champion that initiative. And it is now called LabSet, which stands for Law, Agriculture, Arts, Business, Science, Engineering, and Technology. It is basically a digital innovation center. And I have with me the LabSet team here today. I'll recognize them in just a moment. But I wanted to briefly show you the things that we've been able to do from a system-wide perspective to train our students, train our faculty to anticipate and meet the workforce needs of our state. I think I talked a little bit about what the purpose is, but basically the goal of the organization or the initiative is to upskill, reskill, and give new skills to our students and our faculty. And we have done a phenomenal job in partnering with companies like IBM and Amazon and others to provide those skills and provide those courses through this LabSet initiative and engage our faculty, staff, and students in this new age technology for the new workforce. I think this slide, and you have a copy of this presentation in front of you, so this slide is very important. Dr. Derek Warren is our Director of Faculty Training and Development, and you can see the number of faculty and staff that we have trained over the last 2 years in these 8 technical areas that are highly sought after by top companies across the globe. And as you can see, many of these have led to partnerships with other companies, and it has also positioned us to be a top university in the state where others are reaching out to us to learn what we are doing to move this initiative forward. And what you'll see is that these skills
align or impact just about every industry there is. And we are doing a great job of training our students to meet those needs. Now, this next slide I call the money slide, because this is how we have been successful in the things that have happened as a result of the work that we've been doing. We've gained about $26 million plus in-kind and financial contributions. We have awarded about $87,000 in HBCU Masters Fellowships through the IBM partnerships. Amazon has been so excited about the work that we've been doing. They've given us about $30,000 in scholarships for our students. And we have alums of our programs here on the board, Ms. Nadia Foster, Clorth Wilson, many of them have come through our program. We've awarded over 500 digital credentials to students, faculty, and staff through the programs that we've offered, trained over 200 students and over 50 faculty. And that work has yielded us being named an HBCU Quantum Center member. We've had technology gifts. We've also been a part of the Congressional Black Caucus, HBCU Brain Trust, and we've been designated by IBM as an HBCU Cybersecurity Leadership Center. So we think that these are the things that will position Southern University as a system, as a top technology goal and destination for most students who are looking to be in this next century of work. This success doesn't come alone. I mean, we've worked collaboratively with faculty, staff, students, and our champions at the university have been really supportive of what we've been doing. And we've been able to contribute to this cybersecurity concentration center. Dr. Warren is now working on creating a business innovation and analytics concentration in the College of Business. And we have been able to add digital content to existing courses. We've replaced some of our old courses with new technology. And the goal is to add standalone courses that meet this need for this 2030 workforce. And here's why we do it, because this is the employment impact for our students. You will see the logos of some of the top companies in the world that have hired our students, that have completed some of these certifications and courses, and they have done internships and full-time positions with these companies. Some of them you recognize through university partnerships, CDW, Amazon, IBM, and others. And so this is why we do what we do, so that we can place Southern University students at top companies across the world. Who did it involve? Senior leadership from our corporate partners, our executive sponsors, who are all the chancellors here sitting today. And we appreciate you all loaning your faculty and staff to do these certifications, to be able to teach our students. Our alums have been trained. We plan to train more, our students, and we have funded this initiative through state and government resources through our LED Fast Start grant through DXC Technology. And so we have an opportunity, once this grant ends, to generate revenue to be self-sustaining for the center. This is another money slide, I think. This is how we have used a system-wide approach. We have trained students on every campus. And COVID-19, while it was a devastating event, there were some good things that came out of it, because we did do virtual training that allowed us to train students from all of our campuses, faculty, staff, and students from all of our campuses. And we are looking forward to increasing that as a system through boot camps and other courses. And I think I failed to mention that when you take these courses, you leave these courses with at least one or more credentials when you finish. And we've had a 90% credential attainment rate from these courses. What's next for the LabSet initiative? We hope to offer these courses to our corporate and community stakeholders to generate revenue. Some of these classes can run from $600 to $3,000. And we've been able to do it for free at this point. But when we partner to sell these courses, we plan to make it a revenue generating initiative. We hope to have standalone technology courses to enhance our curriculum across all of our campuses. Our ultimate goal is that 75% of the students that graduate from Southern University have a stackable credential when they leave. We hope to create a Southern University branded digital credentialing program so we can market our own talent and our own skills. And we want to implement an HBCU Cybersecurity Leadership Center as a part of the Southern University system. I think at this point, I would love to have our lab set team to stand, just so you can see who did all of the courses, all of the teaching assistants, all of the late night weekend working with students and faculty. If you're here and you're in lab set, would you please just stand? And we appreciate them for their hard work. We have someone from almost every campus here today. And I want to acknowledge them for the work that they have done, because it is really the team that has helped to move this initiative forward, and we appreciate them. We appreciate Chancellor Pierre for championing this initiative, and all of our chancellors who have accepted the responsibility and allowed their faculty and staff to do this. So that is my presentation, and I am open for questions if there are any.
No, it was very comprehensive. Thank you.
Is that your way of saying long, short? That's all right. I thought you all should know where your money is going and how it is benefiting our students. And we believe that this is something that is going to be groundbreaking for us as an HBCU. Thank you.
So, to make this presentation, I wanted to thank President Shields, because on the 4th of August, he came and met the incoming first year class and got a chance to meet Chief Justice John Weimer. And I think they had a great time. And if you could see the excitement in the first year class right now, they are just excited, and they were very appreciative of President Shields coming to see them. And President Shields is a great influencer, because in the next few months, there's going to be a great case being argued in front of the Supreme Court. And he contributed to a friend of the court brief that I think will get lots of attention. And, you know, when I told him I had Dennis Shields ready to contribute, everybody just stepped back and say, bring him on, bring him on. So again, the legal legend continues to ride on the horse with his black hat and keep doing great things. Thank you.
Dr. Sahu.
Thank you, Chairman Shorty, honorable members of the board, my president, Dr. Shields. I'll be brief. We'll stay within 3 minutes. I'll start with the enrollment numbers. We have 7,956 as students as of yesterday, that total enrollment, and that is 529 students more, which is 7% more. And Dr. Williams asked us to present it without the dual enrollment. So without the dual enrollment, our enrollment will be 7,484, and that is still a 417 students increase, which is a 6% increase. Attorney Rutledge, you asked in a fresh perspective, and we had folded in an increase of 200 students to balance our budget. We are using one-time monies, but this increase sustained, and our ability to keep them is going to allow us to erase that shortfall. On the housing, I would like to report that we have on-campus housing of 2,228 beds, of which the number filled is 2,177. At this point of time, we have 51 vacancies, which will allow us to go through the waiting list and to accommodate everybody who wants to live on campus. But I still think that, I would like to go behind and support President Shields' initiative to have more housing available, because we don't know how many we lost just because we could not promise them housing, and how many who chose to live outside, and it's an inconvenience for them and their families. I would like to also recognize that the president was our guest for the first faculty convocation and did a really good job in terms of giving us charge. And there's one thing everybody went back learning, that our charge is to enhance student outcomes as measured by retention, as measured by persistence, as measured by graduation rates. We also did something first this time. we got all the freshman students. We had 5 orientations, and we got all the freshman students last Sunday. And had a pinning ceremony. They recited a creed, and it was just a wonderful. I think that is going to, first impressions count, first experience counts, and I think it's going to be a positive impact on this campus for us to deliver on student outcomes. Chairman Shorty, you asked me to provide an update on the Psych D program, and I just will take a minute to say that we were keeping it on covers to be able to announce when everything has been done, but we had an opportunity to add that to the 3-year plan because it has changed with the Board of Regents the way they do it, and we included the Psych D for approval in the 3-year plan. And so what we did was we have the support of very good professionals who are really guiding us to put this in place. When we took it to the faculty, all these things, the curriculum committee is faculty-driven process. If there was some hesitation with the psychology faculty, I moved it to the healthcare. But the consultants came back and told us the Nelson Mandela name would be of lot of value to you, and it'll give global recognition. So we brought it back to psychology. And now we are in a position to go back. Summer we couldn't do much, the faculty was not there, but I will provide you a report in terms of the progress we are making to implement the Psych D program. It is a much needed program, as Dr. Whitfield will agree. There is a mind-body connection. And so there are a lot of people who are professionals, in the psychology, counseling field, who wants to get an advanced degree and advanced self-development opportunity, experience, and also have the rights to be called a doctor. And this is going to be an entrepreneurial venture on the part of Southern University, and it has the right fit. And there is a lot of support, including the American Psychological Association.
Thank you, Dr. Sahu, and thank you for addressing those concerns that I had about that. I appreciate the update.
Yes.
Is there any other business for the board? Any other business? Seeing none, Mr. Rutledge moved adjournment. Ms. Williams second. We are adjourned. Rutledge. Yeah.
The most inefficient shit.